typing of Josh's because of these few stats. I want to see it all in action.
Yeah, we'll see which maps we're going to be playing on. Again, best of 3 series in every single one of our matches. The grand finals will all be best of 5 in these 3 regions. So let's take a look at the map bands. Fired off and away, and there it is. Clubhouse picked by the Knights is map 1. Cafe Dostoevsky by Okami, and finally Villa as our decider. Overall, does this pick for all these maps make sense?
You got thoughts here, mate?
I want to say the first band definitely makes sense, because the last time these two teams met, the first map was Theme Park, and it was 7-1 for Okami. So Pittsburgh banning out that map is indeed something to agree on. Coastline never been played by either of these teams, especially in the last tournament. Clubhouse, on the other hand, does favor Pittsburgh a little bit, so I agree on that pick. Cafe to Okami, so I understand the pick and bands here.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes
Arguably,
sense.
technically, your job.
Let me just make clear, Flu.
Uh-huh.
They make sense given the map records.
Thank you, Project Prisma winner. Just wanted
I'm still
to...
100% pick rate,
Project
so...
Prisma winner, Candor, who does Okami stuff.
yeah, he does.
Yeah, exactly. This is Candor's doing,
I
and
love
it's
the
very
Candor.
beautiful.
Obviously, kind of a bias today, though, Candor. So
Should have wore our long sleeves today.
should have worn it. It would have been, but then it's biased. Like Giants trying to bribe us with their love. The decider of Villa as well. Obviously, with how these teams kind of work, Pittsburgh Knights, they're described as being quite a good aggressive team. So I'm wondering, depending on how that split goes, if going to a big, heavy, slow map.
I mean, Villa has been played 4 times by Okami, and it won 3 times, and they lost it against Wildcard. So
Yeah, so it's one of those things where if we get to a 3rd map, I think Pittsburgh might be in a little bit of trouble.
All right. Well, you guys were already, touting the fact that Okami has been this team that's been playing so well in the region. Not as good as Wildcard overall. Things can always be upset, but it's really the Knights that are at an overall disadvantage. We'll see that later in predictions, definitely in the game itself. But for Clubhouse, map number 1, what do we need to look at? Because Operator Band specifically, even Oceana, is very similar to what we see in APAC North, right? You're expecting these sorts of ops, like a Thatcher, etc.
Yeah.
What do you expect to really come out from Okami to slow down Pittsburgh as much as possible?
I'm wondering how much of EU influence Centers is putting down into the lineup.
That's very true.
So we might see something like a more EU playstyle, first of all. But we also, the Thatcher, that does come out often. Maybe a Capital, which is often an operator that gets banned on Clubhouse as well. So you might see that combination to come through.
I mean, I guess whenever you talk about a coach and whenever you talk about how much they can adapt, you've always got to kind of look at Gig and how that stepped in such a great way to bring, obviously, combined with the intense talents of Giants to this level. In the same breath, Centers is a fresh addition. And it's, if I'm talking about Josh being a great addition in terms of fragging and in terms of the damage they can do, you've also got to look at that managerial side, look at that kind of coaching side, and look at how the change is there. As you said, it might adopt some influences from the region that he's from. It might be able to just add this other level of, okay, well, if this is seen as one of the, kind of leagues that's finding its feet, having someone with this experience, this knowledge, and this vast groundswell around such a tough region, let's see what it can do.
Of course, the winner of this matchup will go on to face off against Wildcard Gaming, which is the most experienced team still in the region. Of course, Fnatic no longer being in the Oceania region, having moved up to APAC North, at least not physically yet. We hope that that's possible very soon. But let's start off with map number 1. Before that, though, let's see what you guys thought about this game. Social votes are in. You can vote in all of these matches on social media, of course, at R6 Esports APAC. 60% to LFO, Okami, of course, and 40% for the Pittsburgh Knights. But now it's time for our name and shame segment. Let's bring up what all of us thought about this game and what we expect there to happen. Dazachu, I see a lot of wolves up there.
A lot of wolves.
Owls, indeed.
Ow.
I was wondering who was going to do that. I was actually expecting it to be Flute. I'm going to be honest. Right, chill out.
The 2 in the box, they're doing it.
Yeah, we're really far away.
Yeah, opposite ends of the
Like,
desk.
so they can find each other, right? I
We are,
that's
like
actually
boxed
my.
up
I was going to say,
I
put your
have my
mask on.
face mask there, which is an animal mask, but
Yes, we all have our face masks right next to it.
it's an
So I'm
animal.
leaning away from Geo. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with COVID.
It's
Why
cuties, bro.
specifically all of us going for Okami? What do you guys think?
I think it's the history. I mean, even looking at those map pits coming up in the regular season, they played on Clubhouse as well and didn't even win then. It's a similar story on Cafe, so all the lines are kind of going towards the side of Okami right now. I'm a bit worried for PK, I think.
I think the thing is that we know how good Wildcard have been, and the fact that Okami have actually provided quite a substantial threat to them in the past. Whereas I think while Pittsburgh Knights have done well for themselves, they haven't necessarily been on that next level where they really are challenging the top spot. So I'm expecting Okami to get it.
All right, let's kick this off, guys. Thank you so much for your input. Game number 1, Pittsburgh Knights versus Okami, the White Wolf and the Brown Possum. All yours.
Look, right. Can we
No,
stop?
it's get
Let's start with the game.
We've had potato.
Go.
We've had brown possum. What is going on?
Don't make me laugh this early in the broadcast. It's not a good idea.
Oh, we were talking about this earlier on. You get Gio laughing and suddenly the whole desk is in absolute tatters. So, welcome back to the desk. It's me and Gio. Been a long time.
Yeah, I would fist bump them.
Well, we can do it to the gas, can't we? Well, so we'll have to clean that now later on. That's infected, isn't it? Clubhouse is that first map, and as mentioned a second ago, it hasn't been too positive an experience for the Pittsburgh Knights. They've gone 2-4 in the regular season. They did lose against Sinister as well in the playoffs 7 and 8. And Sinister are that team who feel a bit of a way below the bottom 2 teams here of looking towards Wildcard and Okami. So I am slightly worried, but it is very clear, given they played it 6 times in the regular season, that this is their map. They enjoy playing on it. It's where they feel they can get the best results, even if their track record does not suggest the same.
Well, that's where some of those potential concerns have to come in, right? Not to set things off on a negative note, but if it really is the map that you feel the most confident on, and in playoffs of 6 Masters you struggled that bad and had some quite poor results on it, what does that mean when you're coming in onto the major stage going against the very best teams in your region? Well, that is what we are yet to see. Kicking things off here with the ban phase, starting off with a Capital and a Hibana.
I think PK are just a very, very masochistic team.
All right, then.
They're just
well,
like-
that's their business.
They're just like beating themselves up on Clubhouse, it seems like, to be honest. I'm hoping with all the prep time they've had ahead of this, though, they've got a good idea in mind, and one of those things, apparently, from the side of PK is to ban away the Jaeger. We've been seeing Wamai as more of a target ban for the most part for some teams. Very rarely do we see a Jaeger ban come through, but we all know he is pretty much a must-pick when he is available. Here, though, he shall not be. That's a very interesting one. Kaid also going to follow through. Not as strong when you have a Thatcher still available to you, but of course it may well force out that pick. If it is available, it being banned away may mean that we don't see Thatcher all that much on this map.
Well, and that's one of the things that we have noticed in this season so far is the fact that regardless of the fact that a lot of teams may not choose to ban Thatcher, many teams, even when he is available, opt not to play him anyway. So whether or not that will happen, yet to be seen. It looks like Juicy is going to be picking up that operator. And
I know why.
well, yeah, there you go. You've got the mute, you've got the Mozzie, you've got to deal with all of this various utility.
It's my favorite.
It is your favorite.
Big fan. I remember breaking down a round of it and doing a video on it because it was just so interesting to see a team being so risky. Like someone proposing, saying, "Oh, you're in basement. It's always played
It
around
being
3
the
hatches."
SSG style row, by the way.
Exactly. Being that, yeah. The SSG roam is popularly called. A lot of teams are now playing it all around the world. But we're in that sort of time frame now where teams are finding different ways to deal with it, because most people who are naysayers of the strat will turn around and say, "Oh, just rush blue, just rush dirt, whatever you choose." Some teams are playing things like the Legion, like Capcan, to deal with those rushes and those aggressive plays. The Maestro Fool, you're having Mexican food. I was about to say it's still breakfast time here, but I'm aware in other parts
I'm
of the
always
world,
down for Mexican food.
you are a Mexican
Best food.
fiend, is how I describe you.
Yeah, I love it. But no, just going back to what you were saying, you were noting how the SSG style roam has begun to start failing, and actually that happened for SSG. They lost a round of Clubhouse, or game of Clubhouse to, I believe it was Disrupt Gaming. So the point is, this is one of those strategies, the options of strategies that is starting to be picked apart a little bit by a number of these teams. So whether or not Knights are going to be able to successfully do that here against Okami does remain to be seen as they begin in with their attacks.
So what they're doing here is breaking open that castle barricade, because what you can see here from the main entrance, if you peek just inside, you're going to see where the drop is. And you know if someone comes down from top floor, it's always going to be the Mute and the Mozzie. Wait for them to drop through the hatch. You pick them off as they go through. Normally you need someone upstairs to try and apply some pressure. And some teams, especially in places like the Nordic Championship, lend towards something like a Monty, pushing through Garage and forcing those two defenders to drop quite early on in the round. It all comes down to how much time they waste upstairs, mind you. We're down to about 50 seconds so far, so far so good for the defenders.
It's too early to be seeing a Monty. And Josh on the Zephyr, we saw
It's
sneaking
never too
up
early.
towards... Yeah, well, you know, that's a matter of opinion. Yeah, up towards through Garage, which is very close to where It's Be Jack Daddy on the Mozzie is, as he was based there in CCTV. So if those roamers can get caught out early, then this really would be a good start here for Knights. In goes that lifeline, but it doesn't look like he was able to get anything just yet, and so he's just preparing to send in a second.
I like how they've all taken a bit of inspiration from Itby Style, one of the big fraggers on this team. He is the player to watch out for in this series, to say that, and Juicy's like, no, Des, I'm the one to watch out for, picking up both Cutie and Jack Daddy in one. 5 versus 3, and this strategy, as mentioned, this is how you break it apart. You wait for the drop to come through, you pick off 2, the roam is broken, and the defenders who are remaining downstairs are 2 men down. That is the risk versus reward style that you play with this strategy, unfortunately.
And even now, despite the fact that they have moved down and Knights know that they have this advantage, they're still being very thorough with their droning, wanting to be sure that everyone really has moved down. Okami are obviously going to have to be relying on those black-eye cameras that are around so that they know where this push is going to be coming in from, because, of course, they are at such a significant disadvantage when it comes to the man count.
Dropping into Moto by the looks of it to try and stage their assault from there, and 1 kill comes in for Itby Star, but peeks out there with the C4, gets himself brought down in the process. Dino's going to find that kill. Hayward the next one, and this is Knights in rapid fashion taking round number 1. My, we might say their record on Clubhouse is pretty patchy, shall we say it best, but that first round was anything but expertly dealt with the roam, and the execute onto site was very clean and very quick.
Really good decisive start there for Pittsburgh Knights, especially given that we all expressed some kind of doubt for this team. And obviously you have to remember this is the best of the region. So it's not like we were really saying that we expected them to do terribly, but obviously with those playoff results on this map, there were some question marks there. And they're showing so far, just off the back of that first round, that maybe they're going to put some of those concerns to bed. Heading to CCTV and Cash as the second site is Okami. This time they are going to be bringing the Bandit. Obviously the Kaid has been banned out, so they can't be electrocloring any of those walls. And so they're going to be relying on the batteries.
I'm really excited to see what happens now there is no Jaeger available. Once that East breach is open, you're going to have grenades singing in left, right, and center, whether it's out of the Zofia, whether it's out of the Maverick, or whether it's out of the Sledge. And this probably leans quite well into this style for Knights. It's saying you can't block these 4 frag grenades coming in because we can burn through the Wamai magnets that you have out with things like the flashbangs coming out of Dino. So I'm really keen to see how many frags we see fill the kill feed from frag grenades in this game.
You also have to be aware that oftentimes for this site, you're typically going to be seeing one of the defenders based up on the garage rafters. In this case, I wouldn't be surprised to see if it were the Wamai. You can place the magnets up there, but as you say, there will be no ADS to be able to help protect that player. And once the Wamai is down, those rechargeable magnets aren't going to be available anymore. And if that garage control can be taken by the attackers pretty quickly, like we saw utilized on the last round, that could be a really good point in if Knights decide to play aggressive.
Only 1 kill in that last round as well for Knights, sorry, for Okami. Hoping for a bit more this time. Players, time to wake up, time to get yourself into the game, boys. I know a couple of rounds, some teams can take a bit of time to get started. But in a game like this, when again, we know the kind of record that both teams have on this map, it's all about these early rounds that you want, especially on the defensive side, because once it switches over, things can get tough very, very quickly. Normally inside a garage, you'd see something like a dot playing up here, something with an ACOG and Echo sometimes might sit there. Not a massive fan personally, would rather you keep those Yokai drones for later in the round, if at all possible. Look how close Joker is holding here in front of the window. If he chooses to peek out at the right time here, or with the C4 in hand, chooses to throw it out the window, he could find Josh, who right now is just sitting on the rappel, watching through that breach and waiting.
You also have to bear in mind as well that from that position there in New Blue, if Dino does decide to move into Garage from here, as he's throwing in the flash to try and deter any movement, but it will only take a very small rotation for Joker to move on forward and potentially catch him out if Itbstyle isn't in the right position to do so himself. So that does mean there is that extra added protection there for the Garage.
Ooh. Hayward's in. We know what he's got in his back pocket. It's grenades. They're in hand, going up for Itbstyle here. But guess what? There's a magnet. However, nearly ran straight into the magnet itself that caught the grenade. Not going to find himself getting blown up, but now there's a full-on gunfight. Bit of fisticuffs being brought out, and Hayward's the one who goes low. Juicy equally quite low against Joker, but the kill still goes his way. Second round in a row now. He has found the opening kill for his team.
That does mean, of course, now that potential for the crossfire that I was talking about before is no longer there, narrowly missing that second frag grenade. But Juicy is very low health, along with Hayward as well. These players who were potentially trying to move in through the Garage. Strider is up here on the roof.
This is the problem. You need to be able to kill Itbstyle here, and I was thinking a couple more frag grenades headed towards Garage would have been the answer, but they choose to take the direct fight itself and lose. Itbstyle with 2 huge kills. This means the defenders hold Garage, and that push in through the breach is going to be much more difficult. Strider, that's the bad call there. When your team has already lost Garage and you're coming in for the 1 versus 1, it's never going to go in your favor. Massive round from Itbstyle here with 3 kills for himself. Josh with a wondrous shot through to catch him out. However, it's a 3 versus 1, and with 30 seconds left, no diffuser in hand. We always have a good idea of how these rounds are going to play out. Okami taking it in much more decisive fashion, all on the back of Itbstyle inside a Garage.
Pittsburgh Knights really did commit to going in for the Garage push, and Itbstyle, as you say, holding strong. Now, he is, of course, one of the newest members of this team and was kind of sold to us as one of the standout players, and he's showing for himself why that is. If he can anchor down like that in the Garage and prevent an entire push from being taken by the attacking team, then that's really a point of strength there for Okami. And, of course, at the end there, it didn't really matter what Josh was going to try and do. There was those double angles being held up, even once the Wamai had been removed. Basically impossible. I think one of the problems as well is the fact that Strider, both times he's been killed and had the diffuser dropped, it's been in a position that's virtually impossible for anyone else on the team to pick up. So you kind of have to just rely on, I guess we got to kill everyone at this point.
Just rely on killing everyone. Yeah, and in a 1 versus 3, it's probably not the most attainable thing in the world. It's small things that I keep on saying throughout this whole week so far is it's the small mistakes that happen in rounds that ultimately lead to the outcome of a game. It's not down to 1 versus 5 and clearing everyone out. It's not down to flawlessly executed strats. It's often small mistakes, and this replay on your screen, in my mind, was another of them. Trying to take this trade when he has the coverings up on the railings to protect him, and then Strider coming in a second time around, probably despite seeing his legs first, still didn't manage to find the kill, but a lot of that goes down to Itbstyle and some excellent play. We are repeating what we saw back in round number 1, up to the top floor, running this SSG roam once again. Let's see how the defenders adapt, because last time, if you recall, they broke their way through the construction hatch, got their way underneath it, forced the 2 defenders to drop and picked up 2 free and easy kills. So there has to be some adaptation from Okami here to deal with that threat if they're going to keep those defenders alive for longer than 90 seconds.
Yeah, once Knights finally were able to get to the site, there was really nothing that Okami could do. They managed to get one of those kills pushing into Church, but because they were doubled up, wasn't really anything else. Very similar start to what we saw last time, and if it goes the way that it did back in round 1, then it could spell trouble for Okami. But you notice their roamers aren't in the same position. We don't have the Mozzie over here in server. In fact, he's all the way over on the other side of the map. All right.
Okay, he's gone for it, but he didn't die. I was just like, why? You know, they're there again, but he's got away with it, this time with his life.
Yeah, you can see they're actually playing it significantly safer here. The fact they made that rotate down to site that early, and now you've got everyone based down here in the basement.
The one fear I have about this is you've committed so much utility upstairs, jammers, pests, reinforcements, and now you're back down on site castle barricades as well, let's not forget, and you're losing a lot of key reinforcements downstairs.
I suppose the one thing that you can hope for in that situation is the fact that Knights still have to drone out those top 2 floors to ensure that the roamers aren't there. So it's almost a bit of a bait. They know that they're expecting this SSG-style roam. They haven't yet figured out where everyone is, and by the time they realize that the rotations have been made, it would be the normal time to move down anyway. So even though that utility has been expended, it might not be too terrible only until it comes down to those last moments if Okami can't hold their own in those gunfights.
I'm curious to know if they had some flank drones watching main stairs and bar as well, because they would have seen the drops coming through in that case. The Mute no doubt got spotted, but it was the Mozzie I think they were unsure of. He went down main stairs, I think, to get back onto the site, or was lurking around kitchen. Not entirely sure, but I don't think they saw him drop. However, 60 seconds to go. They are in a spot where drones are downstairs. They know approximately where a lot of these defenders are playing. They know that these upstairs areas are now cleared out and should be able to go for a bit of progress. You saw Jack Daddy with a stolen drone there for a second inside of storage, being shot out by the Zofia. So this is where it comes down to the crunch. It's now all the information on the side of the attackers, and it's the defenders who need to react. They are inside of Modo. Open this wall should come through. A grenade sings in from Hayward to find one. C4 over the top will bring Dino down, but I think the damage was already done. This means that wall is going to get opened up.
And luckily being able to move out the way, and as you say, the church wall is open. That means that Josh wanted to move in to get blue, but there we go. There's going to be a trade out there as the QT does go down, and Okami once again find themselves on the back foot. Get rid of the proximity alarm so that your enemies don't know where you are, and hopefully you can push on in.
Trying to find their way through main stairs right here, but time is of the essence, Geo. 10 seconds to go, a 4 versus 1 for Knights. This should be them cleaning up house here, unless Jack Daddy can get in here and cause some trouble. Sadly, the diffuser is going down on the other side. My friend is in the back of Armory. Nothing he can do here in that 1vx situation. Knights taking round number 3, and I'd say this has started very well for them. They clearly know their stuff when it comes to breaking apart an SSG roam.
Okami evidently don't look particularly comfortable on defending this site, and I'm wondering that if they do decide to go back there at some point, they will go for a different strategy that doesn't involve that roam. First round, we saw them committing to the roam for a period of time that allowed the roamers to be picked off. Next round, we saw them rotating down to site before the 2-minute mark, or I suppose 1 minute down, but 2 minutes on the clock had even been hit, and they still weren't able to find that happy medium. We saw so much defensive presence down towards blue at the end because they wanted to prevent a push come in from Josh, who was on the Zofia, and obviously when you want to open the church wall, you also want to be having that Zofia come in from that side of the map, and even then, it was like they'd misdistributed their resources, which is something that we spoke about before, but it meant that that aggressive push coming in from the church wall side was all they needed, and while everyone else was worrying about the Zofia, suddenly you got all the attackers in your face.
It's almost like they didn't anticipate the drop into Moto and just weren't quite sure. I imagine this is really kind of hard for a coach as well. You put all this time into dry running an SSG roam in the ways that people can counter it. You come into a game against a team that you have slapped silly all season long and they just go, SSG roam, what a laugh, and find a way to beat it out so simply. So I agree with you. Maybe now they step away from playing that and say if it comes to playing downstairs, much like we saw in APAC North the other day, you opt to change it up a few times. I believe it was Giants who were changing 2 or 3 different strats while playing downstairs. I think that roam, even when you're playing on site for them there, clearly didn't work too well, so I'd like to see them commit more resources downstairs in the basement itself, rather than taking it off site. But here we are going to gym and bedroom, and a mirror is being brought along of all things. No big surprise for this site. It's not really a thing we've seen in Europe, but in some of the other regions, we do see a mirror being used to help hold the west wall, and often in towards Secret Stash, where you can see Mangoes right now, getting it set down so they can keep a close eye on what's going on inside of the bedroom.
Yeah, I'd say the only European team we really saw this quite successfully was Vitality, who had some interesting ways of going about it. But you're right, it's definitely a lot more common to see it in APAC. Looks like Mango's obviously positioned himself so he can use that open hole in the wall to hold back anyone who may be standing at the jacuzzi wall, which is now going to be opened there by Dino.
I like how he held onto this mirror just in case as well. Just thinking, well, if they aren't going to push through West Wall, I want to move it somewhere else, potentially. Could stick it inside a logistics office looking down into construction, as we saw G2 do against BDS over in Europe. But here it is going to be this Western push to kick things off. There's only a couple of them doing it, mind you. 1 or 2 still up on the roofs, probably looking to go towards logistics at some point. That's normally where you'll see a sledge setting up. Hasn't just yet.
Well, one thing that you also have to remember is that because the Jaeger isn't there and you've got 4 frag grenades on the side of the attackers, they could, in theory, just throw that straight into the bathroom if you don't have those magnets there to protect you, especially if they can't later on be placed. So that does make the Mirror's job significantly riskier if she can't get those early kills.
trying to burn those magnets out as best they can. There's one singing in now, and it's gone red. The indicator not going to do any damage, actually, as he stepped away in good time. Didn't kill the mirror window, mind you, so they'll be able to hold themselves in place a little bit longer, but that was only 2 frag grenades come out, so 2 still remain. Sadly, Juicy no longer remains in this round. However, all the EMPs have been used, so I'd say it's not the end of the world to lose him at this point any earlier, and it could have cost them something. A spray comes out, but it's Dino who wins that pre-fire. Mango's going down, and that's the mirror removed. C4 in the back pocket, not anymore. Stahl's going to strike back against Haywood, so it's a 4 versus 3. Okami with a numbers advantage. Dino doing Dino things once more, grasping onto his enemies and ripping their heads off. Joker finds one back in response, a 2 versus 3, and for the Knights at a numbers disadvantage, and that timer waiting for no one. We're down to the final 45 seconds.
You can't forget the fact that Josh is still on the board, and so far he's been such a key player to be able to clinch things out at the end there. He's going to still remain alive, and JKR is just playing things patiently. Situated here behind the Vulcan shield, waiting to see what he can get. He does get stunned out, but he does also get Josh, leaving just Dino for Knights.
I was going to say it was really weird having one playing out to the west and one playing construction, no ability to trade. And, well, here it's a bit of a late trade, but Dino with a quadra kill coming out of nowhere. 1 versus 1, but he's against the big boy on the other side. It's itbstar on the Valkyrie with only 10 seconds to go. Doesn't have a C4 in the back pocket, but a little bit of information can come in here. And all he's got to do is spray. Checks the wrong spot, and I think without a C4, this may have been a mistake, because now all the pressure lives on itbstar's head on the Valkyrie, whilst Dino is in a commanding position to get an ace.
He can use one of those shields as well for his own protection and be able to make rotations as required. itbstar does have to go for this disable at some point, but there's such a risk if you don't do it before the opponent is killed. He's just waiting to see what he can get. Is he going to be able to make the pre-fire and successfully take this fight?
Oh!
Yes, he is! This Dino looks the wrong way! And Okami are going to be able to successfully disable the diffuser and take themselves the round.
Dino, don't worry, buddy. You're still Fragmite in my heart. Brilliant round coming out of the support player there to almost drag his team through. But sadly, the final boss of itbstar just a little bit too hard. Back to the training grounds to level up there, I think. It's another round going the way of Okami. So it's 2-2 now. Still, I'd say a good hot start to the half, or start to the first half of the map for the side of PK, but it's all been on that one site. We're going to CCTV and Cache, the one that we have yet to see the attackers actually successfully take. The only one that's seen success on so far is the downstairs, and a lot of that has been on breaking apart that SSG roam.
I'm wondering if Pittsburgh are going to opt to go for a slightly different approach here. Obviously, they put so much of their stock into Garage and trying to remove the control of Garage. Now, we have seen some teams in the past completely forego that attempt and just focus elsewhere on the map. And I do wonder if they decide to do that. The really big problem that you have is because you don't have the Hibana who would usually come in through construction, you don't have as much of an option to be able to go in through that west side as well and do that more, I want to say, traditional way of moving in onto this side.
It's a very European thing to do, an East breach and then into construction take. A lot of teams, I think in APAC especially, really like taking control of Garage. And that's kind of the, I don't want to say the old way of doing things, because there is no real old way. Like, there's different ways of doing things, but that's where the lean seems to come in. The one thing I'll always say for this side is you need to have 2 compass directions of control. It's very easy to get the east. You take open that CCTV wall, problem solved. You can take the west window, but jumping in through a window, as we all know, locks you into an animation. If someone is holding to the north inside a Cache, it's the easiest kill in the world. Spray at the window, the person jumping in is going to die. And with the control of Garage being with the defenders, they can do what you're going to see itbstar doing now, I imagine, just sitting and watching the breach angle through the window. That is why you will see so much attention going into Garage. What we need to see this time, though, is Strider and Haywood take Garage together and collectively nade out itbstar, because he got a 3K here last time. That cannot happen again.
Well, I was going to say, when we came to this site before, the big concern that you and I both had was the fact that there is no Jaeger, and maybe that would be the downfall of the defenders. And in fact, that didn't end up being the case because itbstar was so good at his job. So as you say, you want Strider and Haywood to be working together so they can get a lot of value out of those frag grenades, which in theory shouldn't be able to be impeded quite as much as they would be if a Jaeger were to be played on the defense.
I do love those more like conventional bans, things like the Mute and the Jaeger that just change the way teams play the game entirely, because you just can't run the sort of strats that you would normally like to. Me too. I like it when there's intel. I like it when teams know who they can push and pre-fire, because it looks sick on the camera.
I just love it when there's not a Thatcher ban.
Great for a highlight reel. I think I kind of agree. Everyone for the longest time was like, oh, Thatcher bans just slow the game down, it becomes really boring. But what I do like is it's leading to a lot of things like Maverick play, and then counters to Mavericks and things like C4s, and it does give up a new, or at least open up a new style of playing the game. And speaking of style, he's holding inside a garage. Oh, there we go. Distraction coming through Breach, distraction from below, and Juicy creeps up and finds his third opening kill of the map.
So preoccupied about trying to place those magnets that they were able to just take him straight down. And look how swift this control of Garage has been taken. So many pre-fires able to be shone through by Juicy, as Dino isn't far behind. He's doing all of the hard work. Mangoes and It's Be Cutie have to be a little bit further behind. And JKR is going to be rotating upstairs as well to try and prepare himself for this push.
You can see what the plan is here. They've got 3 members inside a garage. Now they've got control. They have the control outside of CCTV Breach, and the diffuser is in hand. Strider has it, so can go for a plant in the default spot. Got to be mindful of any C4s singing out from any of the 3 members that hold them on the other side. For now, it's going to come down entirely to the smoke canisters. I love that Strider's making this small little adaptation here as well. Forget about going through the window. Forget about going through the breach. Instead, he is just going to open up a little hole for himself while breaking into a bank and go for the plank. Can he stick this one out before he dies, mind you? Yes, he can. In fact, he wasn't even being hit by the gas there. Did take a couple of ticks, but the diffuser is down. C4 comes out. This could be the freest kill in the world. There we go. Strider goes down a second. C4s are singing around the site. 2 kills come through for the defenders, but it's Dino from long range, once again encouraged by Josh out towards the east, and this is so difficult for the defenders to do anything about. Knights with an almost flawless execution onto CCTV cache.
You know, one thing that I'm learning about Knights here is if you keep their fragmite up,
He frags?
he'll frag.
Who would have thought?
I know. And just being able to hold on to that long angle from the other end of the garage rafters did mean that even though those C4s came out and got the kills that they wanted onto the site, it was still virtually impossible for Okami to actually move into... what's this? Why are they going here? What's this? No,
I just stood at Gio and pulled a really disappointed face. I was just like, man, again. Okay. I mean, look, we're seeing improvement between the rounds. The first round, they lost 2 on the drop. The next round, they successfully got everyone back to site.
It's still the same lineup.
But they didn't respect the Moto drop was the big one. So what I want to see is making sure they got a couple of goo mines in there, a couple of cameras around potentially. Anything that gives you the indication of where the attack is coming from is going to give them so much more lean. That being said, they did drop Moto and then planted in the back of Armory. So it's kind of a bait and switch in a way. So from the defenders here, we need to see a bit more pace on the adaptation, on where they're moving people around to, what angles they're going to be watching once they understand what's going on, because I feel that's what really caught them out last time. By the time they could deal with the back plants and Armory, they were in a 1 versus 3. Good luck doing much about it then.
I mean, look, if Knights are going to just drop through Moto and rush through that way, then what you need, you have your goo mines, then you put a frost mat under, and then Capcan booby traps so they can't walk through the doors.
Is this the advice
You're
your
welcome.
team in
If any... Milo, she's telling me to get out the studio. No. I'm a coach now.
Get back into them ranked games and tell them to run Frost. And people will be like, yeah.
Well, no, as you say, Derry, they've obviously not been respecting, as you say, the Moto draw. And they haven't always been super prepared for it. I mentioned it, and the last time they came here, they really put so much manpower in trying to hold on to blue, and that didn't end up being the biggest of their concerns. Straight away, drones are going to be lost there from Knights. At this point, you would hope that you wouldn't be losing drones to Mozzie Pest, but that's 1 on the board there for Okami.
This mute dropped already. Can we just have a look at it for us? I don't know who's observing this game. I really should have damn asked. It's Medics or Easy. It's one of the 2. I'll just say Easy. It's Easy. My boy Easy. Okay, I've been told it's easy. We're all good. I think the mute is already... Yeah, everyone's already dropped back to site. So I like this is kind of like a bait setup, right? They've done the full work upstairs and then just got themselves back onto site. But because of the mute jammers, because of the Mozzie, because of the shotgun holes upstairs, the amount of time it takes to do those things, it should bait the attackers into spending a little bit of time on the top floor. That being said, they seem to already have an idea. Maybe they've got drones on sites. If you are committing those jammers and pests upstairs, you don't have many to block the attackers from finding out who's actually playing on the side at the time. So they should be able to ignore the top floor for the most part. That being said, Style has crept his way up from the main stairs. Knife it. Stealthy.
That's exactly what I was thinking here, is it means that Knights fall into a false sense of security that they've cleared out the roam, and now they have to worry about the fact that there is someone else upstairs, and he's crouching all the way through, but Fragno Fragmite, Dino, not far away. They're actually going to
Fragno. Did you really just go that far?
You know, I was just like...
You could call him Thermo or something. I don't know.
I can't
kind of
think
relates
that
to
fast.
Thermite and his name.
I can't think that fast.
It's first thing in the morning. We haven't had breakfast
Yeah, it's
yet.
really early here. I just went to look at my watch and I'm not wearing a watch.
Okay, that's... It really is that early in the morning
What
for Gio.
time is it? Okay, it's 20 to 11 in the morning.
That's no excuse
for a lot of people,
anymore.
that's late. Either way, we'll go with Fragno. He wasn't far away, but now he is. He's had time to get away, so didn't matter in the end anyway.
Check a watch that you aren't wearing. Brilliant. Style is still upstairs at 45 seconds to go. I'm surprised there hasn't been a push down some stairs or a drop anywhere. Almost finding a kill onto one inside of blue here from Josh. And the drone will be telling him there's a ping on his head saying, hey, there's a guy standing here. He needs to die. Please come and kill him. But being very mindful, in fact, of him potentially being upstairs because he's pulled right back. Can see where there's a little gun hole being opened up here as well, potentially by his style. Maybe it was by the mute earlier on. And here we go. He's going to try and challenge this one. I think he may have just saw him. Out comes the C4 down the hole and connects onto Josh. I hope to God he screamed fire in the hole of that opportunity. Juicy getting the plant down, mind you. And here comes the push back in towards site. Once more, it's an armory push. It's a 4 versus 3. The numbers advantage sits right now with the defenders, but can they get the retake? Juicy gets one. Traded back out a second later. It's a 1 versus 3. Knights are about to lose everything. 1 kill comes through, but the trade is there. Unfortunately, Jack Daddy with 2 big kills at the end, and there will be finally a successful SSG roam defense by Okami.
No, that's it. Okami finally, after all of the toil and trouble at the end of their defending half, do get a successful Church Arsenal hold in their pockets. And it obviously was really key that they did make those adaptations. They decided to send that late roam all the way back up to the top floor. And that did mean that Josh couldn't just focus on the job that he wanted to do. He couldn't just shoot in down blue and push down blue, because once they knew exactly where he was, he had to be aware of any flanks behind him. If he had just shot in through the soft wall, maybe he would have been able to get it B-Star, but he doesn't want to give away his location. He doesn't want to take too many risks. He decided to go down Oil Pit. C4 followed him up. Got a nice little explosion in there, something
I
you'd
love to
love
watch
to
that
see.
back. It's almost like a full 3-floor C4 essentially. It's beautiful.
Because the thing is, you know that if it were you, you would have thrown the C4 and it would have landed on like the motorcycles or something like that, and you'd have to run down, pick it up, and be like, no, come back, come back.
Or on the railing in front of you, and you panic and just keep massing G like quick, bang, and before you know it, you've killed yourself. Absolutely.
That's exactly it.
The big key thing there is if Zofia had stayed alive and got herself down in oil, pushed up into blue, the cut you would have had straight through into hallway through the rotation that was inside of blue would have been massive, or pushing up towards AKs to support the team. That could have changed the outcome of that round for them, but unfortunately, being picked up by Style on the roam, again, one of those small things that happen in these rounds that really influence the outcome. We change halves, mind you, 3-3. I'd say that's a very successful attacking half coming out for the Pittsburgh Knights, given how things have gone before. And here we go. That's a Kobe. Sitting around to the left of the ladder. Bye-bye. Almost straight on his head as well. Ouch.
Oh, it's just brutal. Because at that point, once you know what's happened, it's too late for you.
What would your battle cry be if you were throwing a C4 from that high? Was it like death from above or
no, probably just
Kobe?
because I can't think of anything imaginative.
Mass G! Explode! That's how it works.
No, mine would probably contain quite a bit of profanity that I can't repeat on this broadcast. What would yours be?
Yours would be, I effing got him. It's like, yes, you got him, well done. Mine, no, turn around, cool guys, don't look at explosions, and walk away back in towards cash. Try and be as cool as
I think it's really adorable when you try hard to be cool, because you're not very cool in person.
Cool. It's dad cool.
Yeah.
Everyone else laughs.
The fact that I know
cool.
that you're dad cool is you wear t-shirts with your own business's logo on it.
They're easy and cheap, man.
Yeah, but it's still not cool.
I don't care. It means it's one more decision taken out of the day.
I'm dirty. I'm a CEO, by the way.
Just like the t-shirts, bro. Don't hate on the t-shirts.
Well, hatch has been opened, and it's actually a really similar defense here from Knights as far as like the operator lineup goes, what you want to be going for. It's going to be a bit more roamy, but so far, about halfway through the round, and Okami still haven't gotten anything. Everyone has actually returned back to the site. So again, quite an early rotation down. Like,
Not looking to play the same thing because they had that Moto hatch reinforced, and in fact,
Yes.
pretty much all these hatches have been opened pretty darn quickly. So good on the attackers so far. You're seeing 2 sets of frags being brought out, exactly as the same as we saw coming out of the Knights. And I think even if you weren't expecting a Jaegerman to come through, you're just like, man, C4, not C4 City, Nade City coming in. Let's make sure we have those on side. And it's about how many of those we can find, because I actually think in the first half, we saw more C4 kills than we did grenade kills. And that is crazy when a Jaeger is banned away.
It is kind of odd, because it's not necessarily what you'd expect. And it's a testament to the fact that Wamai has been played pretty well so far. And obviously we're yet to see how Strider does show up in that role compared to how Itbstar was playing when he was on it. Now, there's a C4 going to be coming out from the mute, but it's not quite going to get anyone, as Itbqt's a little bit far away, and Mangoes is all the way pushed out to the
Oh, he shot it out. There was a C4 that came over the top of the Ashrosh wall there that called out towards Mangoes, but he saw it in good time, must have heard the rip, and made sure he was more than prepared. So good for them to deal with both C4s coming out of the defenders. This should now just be down to the execute and down to winning these critical gunfights.
I'm wondering if Itbstar is going to be heading towards Oil Pit, because we did just see one of his drones get shot out, and there we go, he's moving down blue from that direction, deciding not to go in through the stairs as where he was positioned beforehand. He has been deterred somewhat by the smoke canisters, but Okami are going to have to move on forward. Looks like they are going to be going in for the plant as kill comes out from each side, but just a few seconds remaining.
Trying to find what they can do in a 4 versus 2 for the attacking side here. Juicy finds a massive kill onto Starlup and all those, so now he can turn his attention back towards the site, but with the diffuser down, there's work to do. A frag grenade sings through, not quite connecting onto Strider. But a 2 versus 2 now as Juicy finds himself yet another one onto Jack Daddy. However, Mango's bringing down Juicy. That's a combo if you ever saw one before. Not much they can do. Okami take round number 7. Bit of a flurry there at the very end, but it's Okami with that win I think is the crucial one to talk about, because let's not forget how successful they've been on this map previously and how their result went against Pittsburgh Knights last time they played.
Well, that's exactly it, is the fact that you can, we said Pittsburgh Knights, they had a pretty good first half on this map, but if Okami can actually pull this very much into their favor, now they're on the attack, they could end up running away with it. And we know that Okami like to play historically a relatively aggressive playstyle. They've made some effort in recent times to be a bit more structured in the way that they do that. But the point is when they actually get into those face-to-face situations, they have been able to take a decent number of those gunfights that really matter at that point. And obviously, after having so many issues defending this site, it's nice to see them do well on the attack.
So I see things switching around, but we'll see how it plays out. PK did win their first round in the last half, so it's only natural that on the switching side you see the same come about.
It's fair.
It has been very back-to-back, to be fair. Rounds 1, 3, and 5 were all won by the Pittsburgh Knights, and then rounds 2, 4, and 6, obviously, won by Okami.
Can I say the name of that team, the one with two?
Huh? Pittsburgh Knights.
Pittsburgh. Why are you saying it like you're from Bristol? It's Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Oh, no. So we don't say.
Hey, my best friend's from Pittsburgh.
We don't say Edinburgh in the UK, though, do we?
No, we don't. You don't pronounce the G. It's just Pittsburgh.
10 seconds remaining.
It's not Pittsburgh.
Why do Americans have to ruin everything in my life?
I'm from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
5 seconds left.
Oh, I'm from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, lad.
Oh, it's better than Pennsylvania, isn't it?
Attackers' objective is to locate
Not
a
Pennsylvania,
bomb.
Philadelphia. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's in
Where are
Pennsylvania.
you going with that?
Philadelphia's
I was
what
like,
I meant.
I'm trying
It's
to
just
connect the dots.
everywhere. What is it with everywhere in Pennsylvania beginning with P?
I don't know.
Oh, well, I don't know either.
Ask
That's
whoever
why
named it all
that's
those
why we're
years
coming
ago.
over to ANZ, because it's they don't have these problems.
I guarantee there's a wacky stuff with names going on down there as well.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
I just can't say I spend much of my life staring at a map and looking at names and saying, oh man, those two are weird names. I read geometric sometimes and that looks like a weird name.
Whose name's that? I don't know that.
I don't know her
That's
either.
not my name. My name's Geo. All right. Well, obviously, Knights decided that they want to be having a second attempt at this site. It's something we see a little bit more in APAC, is a lot of teams, after losing a defensive round, they will go back to the same site for at least one more try. They've changed things up slightly, bringing along the Goyo as well. You've still got the smoke too, so maybe a little bit more of a kind of anchor style.
Oh, the whole thing just screams anchor play here. Maybe you look towards Hayward and say, yeah, he does a style thing, he goes on the roam again. In case you just guessed, I am missing out the Itby part, because there's just so many of those on the team that I've been saying. It'd be my most said phrase all so far today. We shall, don't worry. So Star was in a spot where I'm saying he was playing that roam game, he was getting kills from upstairs, or the 1C4 kill that we see, the critical one in that round. speaking of him, finds himself a kill onto Strider at the start of the round. It's the Wamai gone. And Strider is having a rough game so far.
Yeah, he really has been.
Been bullied.
And especially when you want to be relying on the Wamai staying up because of the Jaeger ban, it just puts you in such a position of vulnerability. There are 3 frag grenades remaining on the side of Okami, and no more of those magnets are going to be available to the defending team. And if you have everyone downstairs, it does mean they're all going to be pushed up together. Juicy getting ready. He's not going to shoot the drone until he knows that they have seen him. He just wants to be sure that he can catch out whoever it may be coming in through blue. Narrowly misses the frag grenade, and so he's going to be whipping.
Oh, Josh. Oh, no. Pokerballed himself to death. Unfortunate. Hayward holding a little bit closer brings Mangoes down to somewhat offset the blow they just endured. There's still 2 men down, though, on the defensive side. Make that 3 as Stahl strikes against Juicy. 4 versus 2, and quite a bit of time to play with here. 35 seconds. One of these sites should be able to come in their control. The big worry they've got is that Knights are currently in possession of the diffuser. It's in that church wall breach, and now it's a game of droning. Where are we going to set ourselves up? What can we decide to do given the situation we're in? It's Jack Daddy trying to push down main stairs. 1 in blue. It's Stahl once more on this Sophia. What work he's been doing down in oil, and of course here on blue stairs itself. A 3 versus 1. They just got to pre-fire him. It's as easy as that. Okami taking for the first time consecutive rounds on their side of the map. It's kind of 3 in a row. It's starting to walk towards Okami's side.
Yeah, and I would expect at this point Pittsburgh Knights to decide that they want to go elsewhere. I wouldn't want to see them return to that same site. And one of the really concerning things about that is that we saw them attempt a roam style, and then we saw them attempt an anchor style, and both failed. And that really shows weaknesses and cracks in your armor that the attacking team are then going to know that they can exploit later on. They don't have to worry so much about going up against a completely different style of play that's going to be a problem for them. And they have, of course, decided that they are going to be going to a different site. Switching out the, well, yeah, exactly. Switching out the smoke on the 6-pick, that's going to be going to a Maestro. Not only is that going to give them a little bit more information, but also a great weapon to play with, but I suppose it does still have plant denial, because of course the Evil Eyes, they have those lasers. You can shoot someone who's going for the plant, but it's not the same as having those smoke canisters.
There's one thing I wanted to touch on the last round. The reason why we're seeing so much focus towards dropping into Moto and in towards the church area is because blue is now almost impossible to play inside of. It's very common when you have a Jaeger to stick in behind the generator, or stack as some teams call it, and have him basically do an ADS trick where he's standing there, and as soon as grenades start ringing in from Stark or from blue stairs, you're popping that ADS on the stack, it's protecting you, and it makes it... What is that sound effect?
You said popping on an ADS, so I popped.
So you popped. Okay, fine, whatever. You're in a spot where grenades are very easy to catch out, and you can afford to have someone playing inside of blue. But with the Wamai being the only choice you've got, it's not enough. It's not going to deploy in time to stop you being fragged out. That's why you're barely seeing any players actually playing in there defensively, because you're only going to get yourself, well, destroyed if you try and sit there. So it makes a lot more sense for the attackers to take that ground, cover into church, and then look for a plant inside there, or at least start there on their attack when they come for a drop, because it's pretty easy to secure.
And it's interesting as well that we saw some pretty decent droning come out from Okami on that last round. They always had a good idea as to where the defensive team were. And so the defenders, of course, decided to go for their own utility game here, because they brought along the Pulse and Valkyrie to join the Maestro as well. So lots of cameras going to be working on their side. And especially if they do decide to come in a similar way of attacking to how Pittsburgh were, having the Pulse from below or from above in a different kind of vertical position could provide a different direction of information that will, of course, facilitate their hold.
I was going to say those 2 cameras we saw, the one inside construction and one outside, was so pivotal because they can see everything going on in the west window. They can see who's pushing through construction. It means then the only thing you're relying on, I guess, air quotes, being blind on is things like Garage and that East Breach, which there may have been a 3rd camera around to help with that purpose. So I like that with the IQ being on side for Jack Daddy, they're able to deal with all of this utility, and no doubt spotted themselves yet another camera inside of construction to be removed. So they're playing blind right now, except for, of course, the Evil Eyes that are on site. And Juicy's just sat at the top, laying that out of the fire line down into construction to deal with those drones that are peeking their way in. Haven't lost too many just yet on the side of Okami, but want to make sure they're being preserved for later in the round when you do need that critical intel. However, a very European take coming in here. Construction has been opened up, Geo.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is they have decided to do that rather than focusing on the garage as Pittsburgh Knights did. he's also got those other players a little bit further behind, so they can provide the support as they begin to move in. Now, Josh is going to make this rotation up because they know that these players are going to be coming in from the west. And it's going to be ItsBeCutie opening things up with the frag grenade, something we've been looking for a little bit more in this game, Des.
I do wonder. I imagine they're all down inside a garage right now because he wants to keep himself alive, but not a single one inside a cache lets that grenade ring in for free and pick them up a kill that in most situations, would there be a Jaeger, that would not be found. So a nice free one to kick things off. It puts us into a 5 versus 3, and Okami still continuing this trend of attacking dominance here on Clubhouse.
Look at this. This could be very ballsy here from Strider, but in the meantime, JKR is going to be going down. That's the first attacker to fall. Not yet quite enough to weaken them, to bring the man disadvantage to even, but nonetheless, something that they were desperately looking for. There are the pings as those shots try to be made here by Strider, but it's so difficult when you have so much in the way. Plant going down, but that's going to be denied there by Josh. And now the rest of the attackers have to move in. That's going to be a shot taken there by Jack Daddy, who ends Josh's reign, and it really looks like the attackers are going to have this one.
Doesn't have the C4, but does have the cardiac sensor, and they know the plant's going down. All he's got to do is spray through the floor, and Strider, mentioned him earlier on, not having the best game. Sometimes all it comes down to is one round, and doing the good work from downstairs right there, even in a 2 versus 1, able to close that out for his team.
Well, I stand corrected. He was able to do it. And it comes back to, you know, what I was saying about having the pulse. You can play him below, what they decided to do. He went on a little bit of a journey at some point. Looked like he was going to be trying to go on some strange angles, but obviously at the end it allowed them to pull through, be able to know exactly where that plant had to be made. And of course, when you were able to deny the initial plant, you know where the diffuser is, because it's very unlikely that the attackers are going to be able to pick it up or move it elsewhere, anything like that. You really have to flock around that site that has already been set up for you by the fight that prevented the plant in the first place. So it wasn't very much for him to be able to know where that was at the end there, even though Okami did look like they had a relatively decent attack for a lot of that in terms of keeping the man advantage, keeping Knights very, very pressured. It just didn't work out at the end.
Round number 10. Gym and Bedroom, going to be the first time we're seeing these boys defend on this site. Bit of a difference to how Okami did it. No mirror being brought out, but we are seeing the electrification coming through. In this case, you needed a replay of what a dot on a screen looks like. Hey, it's a heartbeat. Guess what? Spray there and someone is going to die. Even had the added help of a ping from his team. All too easy, and a straight headshot as well. I was going to say, I thought he died very quickly, and I was like, how's he killed him in literally 1 bullet? Was he low HP? Didn't think he was. It's a headshot. Insta-kill. Unlucky.
That's a shame. It's very sad to...
Because it was close as well, right? Because I think it was like, what, a couple of seconds left on the plant timer?
Yeah.
It hadn't been a headshot, the damage soak that comes out of that, and given the fact it's a UMP, that probably was going down.
Yeah, it was very, very low in terms of time remaining. But now, Pittsburgh Knights are going to be coming over to Gym and Bedroom. This is the first time that they've come here. And once again, we're seeing a different strategy be adopted from them as opposed to what Okami did. Instead of bringing the mirror, they've decided to go for the bandit and electrify that jacuzzi wall. Obviously, if you're not running a Thatcher, this can be kind of hard to remove because you can't shoot out the floor from below them. So typically you have to come in from another angle. And one of the angles that you would want to come in from is the server.
Easy. There's a game that I love to play in the UK, and it's called Find the Castle Barricades. I found 2, but where's the 3rd?
Well, which of the 2 you found?
I found the one that was on the window coming in from Gym, and the one that was on the south window in Bedroom.
There was one on the stairs.
There we go.
Right there. That's
wonderful.
That was the only one I saw put down, actually. So
I love playing mini games with observers.
that's cute.
Let's follow the grenades, follow the C4, find the castle barricades.
Follow Easy on Twitter, EasyR6S.
Hey, I like it. There you go, Easy. That's all you're getting from us this week.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's your shout.
It's about as far as you get.
Right.
Taking from construction, I was going to say from CCTV into construction is going to be the plan. But for Okami, this is the extended hold that you'd normally see out of teams defending this site. Knights have got themselves inside a cache and CCTV, just looking to waste time, waste utility for the attackers. So when it does come to the execute in towards the site itself, well, you're left a little bit high and dry. You might have a couple of grenades left, maybe 1 or 2 breaches if you really need them. Not that you do, as there is only a single doorway to come in via construction, but maybe you also want control of logistics at the same time. And you can see how aggressively the defenders are holding right now. Dino and Josh just both standing at this doorway like doormen to a club saying you aren't allowed in. However, they've gone in through the back door. They found the side window into construction. Josh has been removed and Dino has had to back away. So like that, construction is cleared out.
That's so unnecessarily easy as well, given the fact that Jack Daddy was just standing outside the window and they had those angles covered. Obviously, Dino able to get away with his life simply by running away. That means Knights are going to have to reset up the defense here. And obviously a lot of pressure here on Strider, who's just trying to watch out for Bedroom, knowing that many of those attackers will be moving in from the east.
It's all about time. 30 seconds remain, and they're only really in a spot where they've managed to get control of construction here, and even then, they're not 100% sure what's going on inside of logistics. They have 3 or 4 members playing out towards the west and on the south balcony, so we're having this multi-angled attack starting to get set up, but it's all about the window play right now. How well can the defenders hold on? Not very, apparently, as the south bedroom defense has been shattered by Jack Daddy here. Second one comes through as Style finds a kill onto Dino. A 4 versus 2, 5 seconds to go, but they kill the planter through bedroom window. This is the kind of thing they need, and no one's there to recover. C4 comes out, but even with a triple kill at the end and Jack Daddy to get the closing kill, it's not enough to win the round. Looks like Knights just about hold on.
And it shows that sometimes all it takes is actually being able to get that key player that makes the attack so infinitely harder, especially when you're on a time pressure quite like that. Now sitting at 5-5 scoreline, and I have to say this is very reminiscent of yesterday, where what we saw was all of us thinking one team was going to be winning, and actually it came a little bit closer than we necessarily expected. And so that's what it looks like here. I mean, I think it's fair to say, especially after the results that we saw from Pittsburgh Knight in the Six Masters playoffs, not necessarily being the best on this map. I mean, they went, what, 0-7, 7-8, and 1-7? I was concerned.
But it's a preferable map of theirs, as that we've clearly pointed out. Like I said, they're a glutton for punishment because they played it, what, 6 times in the regular split? And I was like, man, your record's not very good. You're 2-4 at this point, and you still keep on coming back here.
You play a lot.
The one
great.
the one thing I'll give to them is that if you are comfortable on a map and you know you're coming up against teams that are still probably likely going to beat you, you still want to give yourself the best odds. And just because we're looking at this and saying you've lost here a few times, if they'd gone to, I don't want to say Villa or Cafe because we might be seeing those later on, but a Coastline, for example, it could be even more punishing.
No, I totally agree, because you want to go, at the very least, coming into this tournament, they would have built upon things that they already knew about the map. They would have been able to specifically study this team because they knew that they were coming up against them. So it gives you that, you know, rather than in the regular season where you're playing a lot of different teams, you don't necessarily know what they're going to pick and ban and things like that. You have the opportunity to focus down and hone in somewhat more in this instance. And yeah, you know, a lot of it, especially on their defensive side so far, we've seen these two wins from them on CCTV and Jim, come down to the fact that they killed the right people at the right time, rather than necessarily having the sturdiest defense that was so impossible to break. Because it evidently wasn't. For a lot of the round, in both cases, it looked like Okami had a decent amount of control, or in a position to take it. But they got the right guy, and that's all it came down to.
It's those kind of last 2 late rounds that we saw the 3 in a row, and we just thought, oh man, this is where Okami turn the heat on. PK just don't find a way back into it. But with 2 rounds like that, both on the top floor as well, I anticipate in the next round, round 11, we go back downstairs again. Okami have won that twice on the attack.
Yeah, and as we noted before, it was 2 different defensive strategies as well, and both of them were able to be taken apart. There was the roam. To be fair, the roam that they tried was a really early rotate, and I mean even earlier than the rotate that we saw from Okami's early rotate roam. This was not even at 2 minutes yet. This was somewhere between 2:30 and 2 minutes. And I wonder if maybe they feel so inclined or feel confident enough that they could hold that roam a little bit longer, or whether they're just concerned that Okami would take the opportunity to rush in, not even bother with a roam clear, and take the site that way.
It's always the fear. We said it back at the start when we first saw the SSG roam. For a lot of teams, it's like, oh, you just rush blue, or you just do this and ignore the roam. And it's like, yeah, but It's not quite that simple. I'm pretty sure the boys over in SSG, Lycan and Co. thought about this at the time.
This is what I was going to say. If it were that simple, I don't know if Lycan would still be as revered as he currently is.
When they first rolled the strat, I think they went on a 7-win streak with it. Undefeated for the longest time on Clubhouse because of that strat. No one could break it apart. Just Rush Blue, forehead. It's that simple. Wow, why didn't I think of that? Someone picked me up and clearly got the right ideas in mind here.
Yeah, exactly. So I am very interested to see what it is that they do decide to do there, because they're going to have to go one way or the other, and both times it hasn't worked.
I almost wanted to write like basement in here now and just be like, I know it's exactly where we're going.
Yeah, I nearly did the same thing. When you said, oh, I suspect we'll be going downstairs, I was going to be like, church, yeah, right, that's it. But, yeah, I'm trying to decide in my head which I think would be the better option for them.
I mean, for me, it comes down to the Jaeger ban. We mentioned it earlier on around the whole blue thing, right? That's been the big influencer in this game. When it comes down to that ban coming in, the grenades become so much more potent. Areas of the map that were previously holdable are no longer holdable. It's almost like the reverse mirror theory. When you have mirror areas that you can't normally defend, you can. Think of like Penthouse and Theatre on something like Coastline. On here, when you don't have Jaeger, it hurts a lot more because you can't hold the areas that normally you would rely on being able to avoid things like frag grenades from above or the Zofia impacts coming out. And I think it's very evident that both teams are struggling now that they can't play inside of blue. Yeah,
that's very much the thing. It's such a fundamental part of the game because obviously Jaeger's such an old operator. He's not one that came in with any kind of DLC.
Ash mains are crying. Style is crying right now because I know that he's an Ash main, and you're not an Ash main unless you're also a Jaeger main, so he's clearly very upset.
Right, well, there is also that you have to bear in mind. There will be those players that are so used to playing Jaeger that their comfort pickers has been ripped away from them.
If we interview these guys after the game, I really want the desk to just say, how heartbroken were you when you saw Jaeger taken away from you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Pittsburgh were going to be prepared for it because they knew that they were going to ban him out, but that's not necessarily...
I just want to be Style like, it was fine. There's a single tear just like silently rolls down his cheek.
You know the gif of the little kid? He's like... He like starts
yeah,
crying.
on the interview, right?
Yeah.
That's
going to
Style.
be it. That's going to be it.
Milosh has got to be the one to comfort him as well.
Give him a hug. Yeah, there you go. He's
big hug.
Gonna give him a hug.
Everyone likes a hug from Milosh.
But the thing is, as I say, it's such a fundamental part of the game that it means that a lot of positions that you can take purely through the protection of ADS have for such a long time also been a fundamental part of the game. Which means when you come in to attack or even defend certain parts of these sites, and those positions are no longer by default available to you, it really changes the way that you have to approach it.
The one thing I will give to South APAC so far compared to what we've seen in North APAC is more often than not, it's the pace of rounds that always hurts APAC North. There are some teams that take things incredibly slow and really want to make sure everything's droned out, it's all done very, very carefully. The couple of times we have even seen the SSG roam here, only I think once did we see the team really focus on taking the entire map. Often they'd say, right, count on site, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, sweet, let's go for it. And even in cases where they only counted 4, when it be Star was on the roam, they still said, he's down there somewhere. Let's just go and push the site, and you can see exactly how that bit.
You can picture that exact sentiment being said in an Australian accent.
Try it.
No.
I wonder how they'd word it.
No, I really want to do it, but I also really don't want to offend
It's
people.
no bloody problem, mate. Just push the site. I can't accentuate the words.
Right, we're just going to go push the site. We know he's somewhere upstairs, but it doesn't matter.
Site, yeah, site.
All right.
Site.
We're probably offending a lot of people.
They're not offended. I imagine Jess and Dev are probably slightly offended.
Yeah, and they have to work with us.
It's like, how dare you sit on our broadcast and offend so many people?
What is that accent?
What was
Hello?
That? What was that accent?
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm not Australian. I'm not claiming to be an accent expert.
The worst thing is, people confuse British and Australian. I do not understand.
No, I don't get it. I don't get it.
America's like, oh, you Australian? I'm like, no. Like, listen to me.
Not in the
I sound as common as hell. Like, this is not how Australians sound.
Yeah, I don't sound as common as hell.
No, she sounds posh. BBC English we call Gio's accent, and for most people in the UK, it's absolutely infuriating.
Not BBC.
It's BBC English, or Queen's English as they call it. I call it that, and you're probably like, yes, it's Gio's English. I'm like, no, the Queen is Queen Liz. Or as Demo would say, Big Liz, we love Big Liz.
Oh man, okay, well, I'm sure Demo does love Big Liz. But we love Siege, and we're back in the game now.
Yes, Gio, yes, we are. And indeed, I should have written down basement earlier on because we are going down there. What a surprise. It's the only one, of course, left. Well, unless you really want to torture yourself and play bar. No one likes to play bar. I think we saw it employed once in LATAM, and it didn't go well.
Yeah,
Or was
can't
it used
remember.
once and it did go well because no one had a clue how to attack it? In the old days, you'd just bring a Monty, push yourself inside a stock door, and then plant behind the Monty. It was as simple as that. And teams did start doing weird adaptations when they played it. I think a couple of teams did, where it was opening up the double wall that goes between stock and bar and just looking to shoot at legs as they walked in through stock doorway. And that led to a whole strip around the pool table. You never really talk about pool table or strip on this map unless someone's going for a run out. That's about as far as it ever goes. It's just an untouched area of the map.
That's because that's where all the secrets are.
Look, I've never seen this area of the map before. I'm so glad we're being shown it.
Oh, you're such a good boy. Such a good Christian boy. That's why.
No one ever plays here, that's why. Unless like it's in a ranked game and someone's playing Cav and just waiting for like the final minute to come running behind you, and that's about it.
5 seconds
Well,
remaining.
this is not a ranked game. This
It is not.
This is a big important game.
It is.
Which I believe is the official name that Ubisoft wanted us to use.
The big important game.
Yes. And as we suspected, Pittsburgh Knights have decided that they're going to be playing something somewhat different. In fact, bringing along the
Can I just appreciate how many Pokeballs they've brought?
Yeah, there's quite a few. That's well.
I mean, you can carry
there's
6 in your back pocket. That's how many Pokemon you can carry.
True.
The rest go straight to your PC. Bill's PC.
What's your favorite Pokemon?
Pikachu, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Look at my name. Come on.
That's some real scene kid stuff right
It's
there.
so easy.
Yeah. No.
I used to be obsessed with Pokemon Yellow and then lost it in a wacky warehouse. Genuinely, I cried. I'd put so much time into that game. Fun fact, I didn't know how to get through into the first gym and probably got my Pikachu to level 24 before I even fought an Onyx.
All right. For this round, we've casted more Pokemon than we have seed. So I think
They've lost 2 Pokemon, they're already down and out.
yeah.
It's a traumatic experience, okay?
But obviously the fact that Knights have decided to change things up is very important because of the failures that they did have defending this on the first 2 times that they came to this site. But once again, already seeing Okami be pretty quick with opening up the hatches, which is exactly what we saw last time.
The hatches being open is the big deal for them, and normally you'd lean on something like a mirror to get that a banner to get that done for you. I don't know how long Mirror would be able to open up hatches
I
for.
love it when she does that.
Oh, it just annoys me in these games
But
when all
we
the
don't
mirrors
need them
focus
open,
on is
we
that.
can just see through them.
Exactly. But no, they have got the one open here. They've got the right amount of fuel left as well on Joker to be able to get the second one up if they want. They had the bar, they had the one inside of stock. So again, focus around blue. Understandably, as we said earlier on, you can't play inside there for long as a defender without something like a Jaeger. Where Strider is playing now is good. You're going to see him playing that role that you would normally see a Jaeger fit into. My concern is that when all these grenades start singing in, we've got a few flashes on side, you've got the frags, you've got the stuns coming out of the Zofia as well. There are a lot of tools on side to make this happen. This is where you're going to see a trick coming in. Should be able to get rid of the exothermic far too easy. And now they won't be able to get that wall open unless Joker can get down here and commit the remaining fuel towards getting the church wall open.
That is obviously incredibly risky. You still do have the C4 being held onto by the mute. Well, as I say that, he does throw it on out, which does mean that if you did want to use Joker to open it, you don't have to worry about that, even though there are still 2 impact grenades
Second
in
frag.
the pocket of...
Oh, he deployed it in time. Perfect. So they managed to get around both of the all the Zofia utility coming out and still get the magnets down in good time. Well played by Strider to hold on, but here comes this execute in towards sight. Feels like a while since we've seen a big execute like this. Stepping through, pushing to blue, comes out. Strider finds a kill back, 3 versus 3. Style with a trade though, 2 versus 3. Knights on the defensive side, 3 versus 2 for the attackers, and that plant is going down yet again inside of Armory. So despite all the focus in blue, it's clearly not where a plant wants to go down. Good cover coming through. Plant has not gone down into the final few seconds. Where is Hayward? What can he do? He's creeping his way forward. Does he know he sees him out? Sprays him down, and somehow Pittsburgh Knights will be able to take the round. 3 on the bounce, and round number 12 is where we are now headed. If this round goes the way of PK, wow, they have won the first map, and what a result that would be.
Yeah, evidently both of these teams really struggling to defend that site until it comes to the 3rd time round for whatever reason. What's nice to see is that both of them did actually make adaptations each time. Obviously, we saw exactly what happened there with Pittsburgh, and it has put them straight onto match point, which isn't necessarily where we expected them to be here for this first map. That's going to be making them feel a lot more confident as they move on over to CCTV, which I would fairly wager is a site that they feel more comfortable with. But what you have to remember is when they did win CCTV last time, it was really by the skin of their teeth in those last couple of seconds where the Pulse was able to seek out the planter and get the headshot from below. And if it hadn't been the headshot, as you said before, Derry, maybe things would have gone in the way of Okami.
What I like about Strider is he didn't spend the whole round downstairs. He actually played quite sensibly and was on site for the most part and waited until numbers had dwindled, when drones were at a minimum in the field, and then chose to make the move downstairs. So it's the smart moments like that that are really going to influence the outcome of these rounds. C4 wasn't available to him last time round as he'd expended it a little bit earlier. Let's see if he holds on to it this time round and waits for the plant to come in. There are 3 C4s on side, so would expect them to play around the intel he can feed, or of course, around those 2, or maybe 5 cameras in this case, the Black Eyes plus the Evil Eyes.
And of course, Josh is bringing the Bandit again this time. We did see that on Gym Bedroom, but this time heading on over to the east side of the map. Once again, wall denial, but you are going to be playing against the Thatcher, so they can be EMP'd out. You could shoot them out from below, but it's unnecessary when you do have Thatcher on your side. So it could still be that Okami are able to open up that server wall pretty swiftly, as we saw them do last time.
Should be free enough. Maverick is always there if they need it. I probably would expect them to see commit 1 exothermic towards this wall. If that is failed or something happens, you stick the Maverick on it and you rotate the Thermite instead over to playing on Construction. The problem with Construction is the fact that you can impact trick it. So if they do choose to go for exothermics onto that wall, you've got to be so mindful of what comes out of the defensive side, because if you lose both of those, suddenly this round becomes a lot tougher, and instead you're then forced to go and take something like Garage. And when you commit to taking East Wall and Construction and then have to move to Garage, by then you're looking at the final 30 seconds or so. It's not so easy.
Well, not yet. At 30 seconds. Ooh, that could have been a close one. It's a good job that it got spotted there by his teammate, and that does mean that the Maverick can just continue on. But he could just find himself getting shot here, and that's exactly what happens. Josh securing himself that kill, and that's going to weaken up Okami as they push on in.
I'll never forget Virtus Pro back in week 1 with Mission constantly trying to get the wall open, and every single round he was getting C4'd. So much so that Reaper then went and made a video about it, where you can play this angle that you're looking at with Mangoes now. Play upside down and repel. The C4s won't catch you if you throw them towards the wall as it's being opened up. Trying to get the wall open right now. Will it get tricked out in time? No, it will not. So they have managed to get it done, but a second kill comes out. The Maverick is gone, so your total reliance, of course, is on Mangoes here to swing round and get the Construction wall open. That is, of course, unless they want to try and fight against Haywood and his Fireflies, as you can see, all attached to the roof.
I have to say, we did wonder if that wall was just going to be opened up pretty quickly. You said it could be free, but actually it cost them a lot of time to be able to get to that point. As you say, the impact trick is going to be attempted, but it's not going to work, and that does mean that the exothermic opens up the Construction wall nice and easily, but still just 2 members remaining now of Okami as they continue to be gunned down. Just Mangoes. He's carrying the diffuser, but he's got to go up against the full team, and that gives Knights a flawless round, finding themselves on match point and now finding themselves with a win of the first map. Des, not necessarily what we expected, but certainly not complaining.
Absolutely not. Really good first, final 4-round rally coming out of the Pittsburgh Knights there. I think after the first 2, as we said, Basement not going so well, Okami taking both of those, we were both like, this is swinging towards Okami, exactly as we would have expected, but Knights with a brilliant rally. No doubt the work they've been doing in the last few months. Had a good chat to their coach Picnic last week as well, the Centus on the other side, of course, for Okami. And he was saying, look, we've done a lot of work at this one. We know the stage was a little bit rocky at points. We are the underdogs here, but we are going to come out barking.
That certainly is what they look like they've been doing. I mean, they looked coordinated in ways that I didn't necessarily expect, and I think part of that is maybe because I'm not super acquainted with the scene. Neither of us are. Obviously, we are used to APAC North a little bit more than the ANZ.
Got to channel that inner dev.
Yeah, we have to channel our inner dev Mada.
We're going into this again.
Yeah.
You know what they really should have done? We have a speaker in the studio that all of us can hear, and we call it the voice of God. Imagine if they just
we call it
Jesus.
Jesus. Who calls it the voice of God?
All right, Jesus then.
Yeah.
Voice of God sounds more impactful.
Yeah, but it's me that she gets to talk to it, and he calls it Jesus. So.
All right, fine. Yeah, hello, they say the speakers. Hi, Jesus. Hope you're doing well back there. But no, we are going to go to a quick break. When we come back, map number 2, it's going to be Cafe, and there are some interesting things to talk about the records of both teams this season. On that one, we'll talk to you about that after the break.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back to the caster's desk later for the actual second map of this series. Let's bring it back here to analyze how we got through map number 1. Pittsburgh Knights versus Okami. We went in as the Pittsburgh pick on map 1 Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Ends in a 7-5 victory for the Knights. Is tight 3-3 at the half. Switched over. Okami ahead 5-3. We expected Okami to be the better team overall in this series, but man, the Knights really brought it back for this W.
I think that's the thing. Obviously, we kind of saw it, as you said, the 3-3 on the half. What we saw very early on was brilliant from the Knights. You had these big clutch moments. Some of the players like Josh took a little bit to get into it as we kind of hyped them up to, but then the kind of momentum that as those guys balanced a little bit around with trying to combine the word Fragmite with Thermite with Dino's name. They tried the best. Whether they succeeded or not is down to Twitch chat.
The whole Fragmite thing is anyways like when Thermite actually had frag grenades.
Yeah.
But we turned it into something else. We bastardized it.
Yeah, we just messed it all up. But I think, this was their map. And from the very beginning, I said they just cannot get to Villa. Because I think if they get to Villa, they're not in a great space to take it. I expected them always to get this. They've got to keep that fire, though.
Yeah, and I was looking at it 3-3, and you might think, oh, that's a very good half, but a Jaeger was banned.
Exactly.
And that turns things a lot into the favor of the attack. So a 3-3 was a lot more balanced in that case. It was a good outcome, in my opinion at least. And, well, when Okami then went up to win the next 2 rounds, I thought, okay, this is going to be a quick ending. But it was not.
It was not. That last round was very painful. I think Des was mentioning Amizian with VP. Nobody throwing anybody under the bus here. Not doing that. But that specific game, we saw how, as a Maverick, you can do so much, but every tiny mistake you can make can absolutely ruin the round for your team. And the fact that it took so long to open the wall, it required the Thermite on top of that, and you lost the Maverick and all the utility that he brings and all the gunpower that he has, all gone.
The only real counter to a Maverick is a Maverick himself.
The Maverick himself.
Yeah, if he
Not
messes
a
it up for himself, he's going to be taken out. You should be able to open up safely without having any...
Get what you're saying.
Yeah. So just...
Otherwise, I was like...
No, I was going to say there's no operator that directly counters him off.
We're not allowed to make the it's too early excuses anymore.
You know what was crazy in that way? Because there was no mute in the round, right? So there's nothing to stop your drones. And the Bandit only had 1 battery that was in the center. Well, there was a battery on each one of the sides. You can just deal with a battery without opening up the entirety of the wall. You have a Thermite, deal with the battery, open the wall. Just use your utility. You don't need to stick to the same game plan if there's no real reason to it. Just be more flexible.
You need to be able to adapt.
Exactly.
Yes.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Always something that is so
Or
important.
camera.
With like the beach.
Now the crane. Yeah,
there we go. Got it. All right, map number 2, gentlemen. Let's talk about Cafe Dostoyevsky. Very close map number 1. Mistakes for sure, but now is the focus. Okami picked Cafe. How do we expect this going through? What are the stats? Statsman. Statsman Hap. I know Dota has Statsman. Bruno. This
I'm
is
a stat man.
Okay, never mind. I thought you were gonna go with
You
me.
really wanted to.
7-5 Cafe win, 7-5 Cafe lose for Okami. So they are pretty squared up.
Did you say that like a riddle? 7-5?
No, the Riddler is Dev Marta.
7-5 they
5-7,
lose.
Yes, he is indeed. Yeah, I get where you go. But no, yes, it's even. It is. It's 12-12 in rounds.
Yeah.
And that means it's up for grabs. And if we look at the side of Pittsburgh Knights, they won it. Oh no, actually lost it once, 7-8, and they won it the other time with 7-1. So it seems to be a bit more in their favor stats-wise. But it is still Okami they're playing against, a team that proved to be the better team,
Yeah.
like overall in the past.
Yeah, it's one of those things now, obviously, because when you're talking about these two teams going up against each other, it's always worth mentioning that, Okami have always beaten. They've always won. They've always come out as the victors, and now we're in a situation where they're 1 map kind of down. Pittsburgh Knights they have momentum. We talked a bit about their new roster, the changes that they've made, and how it can bring together. Cafe, again, it's still quite a hot map. There's still a lot you can develop and do with it out of the 3 that we've got on the selection, and it plays well to aggressive game. If they hit 3-3 on the half again, they might be looking like they're in a little bit of trouble, but in the same breath, Cafe's good for them.
Final thoughts. Do you still stick by Okami for map 2 to go to a map 3? Stringy.
I'm not going to give a scoreline again.
Well, you've got it. You can't.
That's
Can't not.
okay. So I'm going to say 7-5 victory Okami for Cafe.
I'm going to say an 8-6 victory for Okami, because I want to see a third series. But honestly, Pittsburgh Knights really impressed me today. So far.
Indeed.
All right, great job, guys. We're done with map number 2's preface, or preface, as Gio was explaining. Let's cut to watch out. It's time to go to map number 2. Cafe Dostoevsky, guys, bring out your books.
Hey.
Let's go studying. There it
Hey,
is.
Fluke.
Hi, Gio.
Hi,
Not
mate.
Tez.
Hope you're having a good day.
You too.
See you later, mate. Catch up with you
White
later.
Wolf,
What
Brown
about that
Possum, go
conversation?
ahead.
And now.
Brown Possum.
What I love is
It's
just
like
like-
it's like Blue Eyes White Dragon, but the rubbish version.
What?
White Wolf, Brown Possum.
Oh, yeah. Oh, brown possum, please. I don't know why I'm being compared to a possum, but apparently I am. It was like a game of poker with those who then when Hat was like, I predict 7-5. And Fluke was like, I'll raise you 8-6.
Oh, really? I wasn't listening.
Huh?
Nothing. Let's get into the game.
This is the problem, right? You put her and Fluke in the same studio, and Gio is just a perpetual state of laughter. Coherent words are limited during this time, so please stick with us until normal viewing resumes.
This is why Fluke and I have got to be kept off of the same desk after the first days. They just
I agree. All right, so speaking about Cafe, we had a good chat during the break, and looking back at the history of it, 2-2 for PK in the regular season, 4-1 for Okami. Even though it was more balanced coming into the playoffs, you can definitely see why Okami would want to come to a map like this. Into the bands, Thatcher thought Okami is going to be the first one taken away. You would hope to see them take this map, otherwise all of our predictions are wrong, Gio, and we look like idiots.
would hate that, wouldn't we? That would be pretty terrible. Yeah, it wouldn't be great.
Correct. I'm glad you agree.
I think given what we saw of the Clubhouse and it being as close as it was, and also what we know of the records of these two teams on this map particularly, I also expect this to be quite close. I mean, when we look at the playoff results, not the regular season that you were mentioning, but the actual playoffs of the Six Masters 2020, as Hap said, Okami have gone 7-5 on this twice, 1 win, 1 loss, whereas Pittsburgh Knights went 7-8 on it. Neither of those are particularly decisive scorelines. They're both quite close. And given that these two teams have come up very, very well matched together, it would seem so far today, I definitely expect something similar.
Time will tell. Well, my band this time around. So rather than the Jaeger that we saw, I've just looking around and seeing in the screens that the operator picks are massive behind us.
Yeah, they're huge.
Have you ever wanted to
Look
see?
at Thatcher's eyes. Wait, that's smoke, not Thatcher. Hold on a second. Thatcher's banned. Hold on. They all have the same mask, in my opinion. You know, they've all
think
got
they do.
masks. No, I know they all look very different, but like, it's still.
It's a mask.
Yeah, show your face.
Coward. Mostly. Okie dokie. So we are going to see the Jaeger coming out. That's for Jack Daddy this time around. So I'm expecting to see more capability to hold certain areas. Things like when you're defending on the top floor, the end of White Corridor leading in towards Piano behind a shield. It's kind of the go-to
Attackers
de
need to
facto
locate and
defense.
defuse as many
So I
bombs
think we're
as
going
they
to see them
can.
setting up here. Top floor is where we are going to kick things off. What I like from a lot of teams is when they play something like a mute and try and do a really hard hold inside a cigar shop, but you normally have to bring a castle for that, which they've done here. They are lacking the mute, so there is going to be the drone work coming through. It does look like Knights will have an idea as to what is going on and should be able to respond. Taylor Ranger says, the 6 major has destroyed my sleeping pattern, but it's for the greater good.
Same. It's destroyed mine because I actually have to get up at a real time now. Whereas my
Kids these days,
kids these days.
their sleeping patterns.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I don't.
Back in my day,
Back in my day, we had to get up so that we could tend the farm.
yes, because that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
Attackers must locate and
Okay, Alibi is probably the one pick I'm looking at here and thinking it's a, not a strange pick, but not really one you'd normally look to bring on this site. Like mentioned
Less
previously,
orthodox.
it's unorthodox indeed. I'd say a mute normally is what you're looking towards, or maybe some electrification if you want to hold onto storage wall. We spoke a couple of times yesterday around where you put mirrors inside of storage to hold through the soft wall. This is really interesting now, look at it.
Yeah, that's an ADS, people. You might not be familiar with what those devices are because we didn't get to see them in that last game.
No, we didn't look.
But those
It's like a
are-
Christmas tree.
They're called active defense systems and they prevent projectiles.
I'm far more interested in the fact they've opened up the right-hand side of toilet, mind you, because this normally gets fully reinforce, and if you're going to open anything, it's normally a head-level line through storage wall in towards piano, so you can hold inside storage and spray down the attackers as they try and push. It makes it really difficult for the attackers to assume control of the piano area, so rather than playing inside a white corridor here, they're playing inside of the bathroom instead and using that to do their dirty work. And here, straight away, firebolts coming out into the bottom side of white, and no one's going to be caught out because guess what? No one's playing there, but there's also 3 ADSs in bathrooms, so none to protect yellow. Yellow, white.
Well, the thing also is being able to have those firebolts on the Capitao is a definite side effect of not having a Wamai. That was very close there for Cutie, who's now sitting on about 5 HP, if that. Looking in through the shield, but it's actually going to be Mangoes who goes down first, and that's your smoke. That's not who you want to be losing this early.
How smug do you think Cutie is right now? I've got 3 ADSs, guys. So you guys are getting native. I ain't going to die because I'm covered. But the Knights are just saying, who cares about Bathroom? We're not that bothered about it, to be fair. We'll leave him there. He's on low HP. He peeks us again. He dies. Let's just get the rest of them with grenades. You're basically down to 2 operators at this point, given how low Cutie is. So it has been a wonderful start for the Knights.
And that does also mean that if Cutie does go down due to his low HP, all of those ADSs are basically wasted anyway, because the person whom they're protecting is gone. He's still going to be looking in for these angles, though, and hopefully able to get a kill before he meets his untimely demise.
Ooh.
That's wow, okay, yeah, he got taken down pretty assertively there, and that means Knights have so much space here on their attack.
Call yourself Cutie, I call you dead. That's twice in that round. He's been domed massively whilst holding angles like that. The first time against the Capitao on the rappel. This time around on trying to peek back through the hole that he'd opened up previously. JKR with the flank, though, finds 2 for his team. Can he make it a third? Tries to go for the spray, misses out a little bit there, and gets tagged by Josh, who was playing from long range inside a cigar. A very decisive first round coming out of the Knights, and bar a spur-of-the-moment play coming out of Joker. Not really any response at all in that first round from Okami.
Honestly, a bit of a mess there from them, and I think the fact that Mangoes went down so early was such a huge part of it, because yeah, you had Cutie playing in bathroom and they'd evidently put a lot of utility in there for the specific protection. The irony being, obviously, he got shot by a gun and not by a projectile, which would have he would have found himself be protected in that situation. But of course, when you don't have that kind of plant denial later on, or even you could call it push denial, I suppose, if you want to prevent the attackers from moving in assertively, it's just there's so much more free space that you can just take, and you do find having to require other players like Joker at the end there to rotate into a position where he's got to try and make a hero play, because the actual person you want there is no longer to be found.
Well, clearly the boys fancy themselves more as chefs than as pro players at this point, going down into Kitchen for the next round of defense. I know yesterday quite a couple of teams, well, never even bothered going towards Kitchen, focused instead entirely on even things like mining, which was an interesting one. Very rarely see teams bring things like that out. But with the Bandit on side, it's going to be a case of holding down the site for as long as they can. No doubt the focus should be for Knights here to get onto the second floor, start smashing open the floors and getting rid of those gadgets. A replay once here again for Joker with a very interesting flank up white corridor. No drones in place for the attackers. In fact, I remember seeing towards the end of the round, they only had 1 drone left alive on the whole team. So no surprise you can pull that kind of play off. But once you've got that first kill, it's all about adaptation for the attackers. And in a 5 versus 1, you tend to know how that goes.
The thing with that, though, is that if Knights find themselves in a similar position here where they don't have many drones, if any, left, that's going to be much harder on this site, which, as you said, requires a lot more vertical play in some instances, and you don't necessarily have that direct line in through rotates and peak holes that you have laterally like you do on the top floor.
Looking towards these 3C4s as well for the side of Okami. You would think they'd want to play downstairs here and just wait, but Joker's holding up top, trying to waste some time. There's an ADS committed up there, castle barricades, a couple of reinforcements. They're saying, look, if you want control of train, if you really want to push through Bakery and get to side that way, you're going to have to go through me first. And I'm hoping that him by himself is enough. Does have Mangoes providing some support. So now the question comes to the Knights. Do they ignore them entirely and just go for a straight push in towards the site? Or do they want to waste a bit of time upstairs clearing them out first and foremost?
It does mean, of course, that if they were to decide to go for that vertical push, they don't have to worry about actually breaching the hatch, because it's already been open so that rotate was available there for the defenders. Still, so far, looks like a lot coming in through this first floor as Hayward moves in on the Ash into VIP.
It's playing a lot like the SSG roam, actually, where they're just going to sit and watch the hatch here, I imagine, wait for them to drop through and go for kills as they're forced to push down. First C4 comes out from the Bandit towards the Zofia. Nothing being found immediately on towards him, and here comes the drop there, but has he got the angle? He's got an angle, but not the right one, unfortunately. He's watching the corridor itself. They have no idea he's here, but it's such a low-impact position, unless they're going to rotate up white. It's not really something people do.
Well, Star's still going to be waiting upstairs, just in case he needs to be used for that roam, for those flanking capabilities. Juicy's opening up the floor there in train as well. That's going to allow them to put in some of that vertical pressure, but as I say that, he gets taken down by a C4, and no longer will those holes be able to be made. And also right now, no one in that room to take advantage of those lines of sight either.
Such is the life of an Ash main. You're inside the building in 30 seconds, and you've got to sit still for 90 seconds doing nothing. He's just sat waiting, but Style decides it's his time to do something, picking up Dino. 5 versus 3, 5 versus 2. It's going all the way of Okami. Literally, the last round was completely dominated by the Knights, and here it's a total reverse.
Well, there we go. He's going to be able to catch out Josh. He didn't even expect the Jaeger to be there, but now trying to get that angle in through the fireplace proves to be so much harder. This is where being upstairs so much later for the defender can be a bit difficult if you can't get the rotate down, but it doesn't even matter. A flawless round there for Okami, who, with their roam game, managed to make life just that bit harder for Pittsburgh Knights, no longer able to look quite so dominant in these opening rounds on Cafe.
It's a really good train hold, and I've noted that down to look at later on. It was again how they forced the attackers to kind of have to make decisions. Once that sledge was gone, once he engaged in a fight and lost, there was no point in trying to take that second floor anymore. So they tried to try and go for the gunfights to force the numbers down in their favor. Again, I'll pull back towards the Ash slightly, trying to hold inside of white, assuming there would be a retreat down white stairs and probably up towards dining. Just quite simply not to be the case, and it was all a bit too easy for the defenders there. Going into round 3, we're going to head towards reading one of the more conventional sites on this map. It plays out a lot like the top floor, so given how round number 1 went, you'd maybe give some lean to the Knights.
Maybe.
Maybe. Possibly.
I mean, actually, what I was going to say is maybe it really depends on what Okami are going to be bringing out for the defense, but they're bringing very similar operators to what we saw last time. There's the alibi once again. That mute is going to be there rather than having a castle instead. But even so, it was really a lot of the damage that was dealt in on QT that allowed for the demise of the rest of the team. No smoke, of course, going to be played. We did see that rather unfortunate incident with Mangoes before, but it's not too dissimilar.
It's a slight variance in terms of where they are setting it up here, so rather than worrying about bathroom and saying that's our place to play, it's back on the side itself. Downstairs is where I want to put some focus though, because often with attackers, I'd say often, sometimes teams will completely forego pushing the upstairs out of fear of being C4'd to death as you step your way across the treacherous bar. There are 3 C4s on the side of Okami. We mentioned this in the last round, or at least back in round 1. Wasn't a huge deal for them. I think it was the same also on Kitchen. Would like to see some more of those being employed earlier in the round to try and catch them out, rather than thinking, hey, maybe these are useful when the plank comes down. These rounds so far have been very one-sided, so more use earlier on is never a bad thing. Just throw it through the hatch, why not?
Always an option.
It
And
is.
I mean, the thing is also what we saw last time was, or last round rather, Juicy opening up the train floor, but because he got downed to a C4, no one was actually able to utilize those vertical angles. So the question is he going to try and do something similar in, say, Cocktail, but meet the same death and then not necessarily be able to have that capitalized upon by the rest of his attacking team? Well, that remains to be seen as Dino just tries to send in a flash so that the attackers can begin to move on down the white corridor, where they may find that they meet Style, who's taken position.
Just in time manages to pull himself back up, but look at this aggressive push straight down white. They're ready. He's going for a duel. Left, right, but finally hits the kill. Josh going to be the opening death in this round. There is the second one there, but Dino knows better than to challenge Style directly. Wants to make sure he has something at least on white stairs to stop himself being 2v1. Sees one of the peak. There are 3 players floating around here. He's got to hit something, but ultimately hits nothing. C4 comes up, and no one is left in white, so they can go and recover that C4 and save it for a rainy day.
Couldn't quite decide who he was going for, and also with the mute jammer still remaining there, it's going to be really difficult to even be able to drone out these players who are present in cocktails. You just have to rely on your line of sight. Hayward nearly managed to get one onto one of the players in there, but not quite able to land it. Now with just a minute remaining, and Knights have still struggled to break into this part of the map, below which is the site.
The hard thing is you're relying on the Hibana to get this wall open, and it can be impact tricks if you're not careful, and that's where I'm looking towards someone like Cutie here with the, I assume with the Pokeballs on side to deal with those. Honestly, it's an obsession calling these things Pokeballs at this point. A kill trade comes in those. Cutie, speaking about him just a second ago, will clutch Hayward after he brings down Jack Daddy. That puts some focus in towards the site now, surely, as the attack from Vertical is not going to be a thing. 1 versus 4 for Strider by himself. Where have we seen this one before? Oh yeah, last round, and it didn't go so well. It's going to be the same trend again in this round. Yet another one going the way of Okami on the defense.
Much stronger defense there from Okami compared to what we saw on the first round. And yeah, a lot of it really was the fact that Knights obviously wanted to come in and take that vertical control, and they failed to. And that meant that, as you correctly noted, when the Hibana wanted to be able to open up a wall, there still hadn't been that preparation that you require before that can even be done. Then you've got the risk of something like an impact trick, and suddenly you find yourself in a position where there's basically no time left, but you have no way of setting up the coordinated breach into the site itself. You're still faffing around upstairs.
Faffing about. Such a wonderful term, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I imagine for many people not quite familiar with what it means either. It's just like messing about, not really... You know, you're faffing here, you're faffing there, you're not really looking towards what it is you're meant to be going for.
It's like what your mum would say to you if she's trying to get you in the car so that you can all go somewhere and you're taking ages. She's like, stop faffing about.
Stop faffing about and tie your shoelaces, get your coat on, get in the car. Deep recessed memories there.
Yeah,
being brought back up.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. We've been here before as well, top floor, just as we saw back in round number 1. So we've seen the full rotation come through, and it looks like we're going to see the similar setup coming out again, where it's going to be a bathroom hold. Now, the adaptation needs to see this time around, if they do want to play someone inside a pixel, which is where Mangoes is right now, we need to see an ADS on this wall. Otherwise, he is getting naded out for free.
Guess what they brought this time? They actually did bring a mute. This is one of your big question marks. Oh, I do love a mute.
I do love a mute, I do.
It was one of your big question marks back from the first round, was the fact that you didn't see that. And I think, you know, okay, you look very happy because
I'm clapping like
ADS
a child. I'm like,
placed,
hey!
not all been placed in the bathroom.
Correct.
Go on now on that pixel angle at the very least. So there's a bit more dispersed protection there for the defenders here. It looks like Mangoes is probably going to be centered in the same place that he was before. That could make him vulnerable to a nade again if he's not careful.
Where's the ADS? Where's the shield? Where's the mute jammer? Normally you put a lot of utility inside a Cigar if you're going to go for this hold. Otherwise, as you say, it's a risk of just having this so feared out from behind you, or you get grenades come singing in.
This is exactly what I was going to say, is now that you have the mute, you very typically see at least one, but even sometimes 2 centered around Cigar. And it obviously makes it so hard for the drones to come in. It means that it's so much more of a risk for the attackers to not something that they have done.
I'm so sorry. I just turned your microphone off.
Des just straight up pressed the mute button on my mic. And I could see the heart attack that he was having. Well, there are the flames that are coming through into White Corridor, but once again, not going to be catching anybody just yet. And that's going to be a lot of damage as Cutie tries to jump into the back store and crawl into the safety of the freezer, but there's still no one really around to be able to help him out.
Jet's got to be careful because Dino's managed to work his way inside the side here. If he tries to push across and jump into storage to get his old buddy, old pal back up, might find himself getting taken down in the process. So his focus here is, nope, I'm going to hold the spot. QT, go and play somewhere else. Clearly, you're much more prone to being shot here than anyone else.
Absolutely, and already straight away we can see Knights haven't been able to move in as quickly as they were able to last time, which is already a plus for Okami. Now it's still going to be Mangoes receiving a lot of the pressure here as he gets flashed out, and he's going to be returning things with one of those smoke canisters to try and prevent anyone pushing in. But so far they're not going to be doing so, and he's relatively safe for now. Still has to be aware of any potential projectiles, but it looks like Jack Daddy could be getting ready to send in a pre-fire as one of those players sits there on the window, but he isn't quite able to catch him.
I think it was Juicy who does take a lot of damage, down to about 5 HP. Dino going to finish things off onto Mangoes. That's the smoke gone. on. So, about 2 minutes and 15 seconds wasted inside of Cigar. That is mega coming out of the defenders, but now it's a question of what can they do with the time advantage. They've still got control of White, they've still got control of Bathroom ever so slightly. I say that they've now backed away and said, look, if you guys want it, you can have it. You haven't got the time to play with here. You haven't got Juicy on side anymore. It's been taken down by Style. Puts us into a 4 versus 4 and only 20 seconds to go.
Drag Daddy looks like he could have been facing the wrong way, but he gets taken down by Dino before the Sophia's even able to do anything. Knights are being watched here, but they are okay. There was a team kill right at the end, which was able to help finish things off for them, but the attack did work out in the end for them. And so many things were going right for Okami, as you mentioned, so much time shaved off by that presence in Cigar. Also, the placement of the bulletproof camera across the other side of the bar meant that as they started to filter in that way, they were being consistently watched, and Joker could pass on all the information. But as things started to get a little bit more aggressive at the end, and with the team kill as well, certainly didn't help, Knights actually managed to pull that one through.
They did, and it almost feels like the last map again. We were sat at 2-2 at a point, and we were like, oh, okay, there's a couple of rounds there. It's not the end of the world. And then they carry on to win the whole map. Who knows how the Knights will proceed. I've got to, by the way, give a shout out to Hap for this, because he says it in such a muted voice that we barely catch it at the time. Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Thermite plus Dino, and I was like...
I said Fragno.
You said Fragno.
But Dynamite makes so much...
Fragno is a stretch. I'm really impressed you somehow managed to get from those two words to producing that. It's not even called Fragmite normally. That's like an evolution of the word.
Fragno. It's just such a stupid...
Could you imagine the drawing? Someone goes, oh, here's Dynamite, and he looks really imposing, done by a proper artist, and then there's you or me just drawing on a piece of paper, and like, here's Fragno, and it just looks like some child's drawing.
Sounds like the worst Marvel character, like the worst X-Men.
He ain't saving no one, that's for sure, and he definitely isn't opening walls. And I think, as like Milos said, it's also worth iterating on. It used to be back when he had frag grenades, he was around as Fragmite, whereas these days it's because when a Thermite player frags out, they're Fragmite.
Don't look at me like that, Milos. You want to have an opinion? You pick up a headset.
He will. Don't you worry. On his notes page, I can already see him scribbling, right, Flame Geo.
Oh, he does that.
Step 1.
Does that regardless. Well, either way, we are heading back down to kitchen here.
Same hold.
Yeah, pretty much exactly the same. Oh no, mind. I was looking at one of the hatches there, and I was thinking, is that been reinforced? But no, no, the fireplace one. I was thinking, why they reinforced that? But they hadn't. It's just how it looked through.
Yeah, because you see a reinforcement through it.
Yeah, through the freezer. What I do find interesting though is where Mangoes is positioned, because we saw the Ash on the side of Knights be able to take control here of VIP really early because there weren't any defenders there.
He was there, but what he did was rotate up White stairs to support the fight that kicked off, and we saw that kind of awkward 3v1 on the top floor for the attacker that Mangoes ultimately was throwing C4s up to Josh, who was up on the top of White, for example. So it's quite a fluid position to play in. I don't know if it was out of luck that Hayward was expecting him to return back down White, and that was the kill that he was waiting for. But as you mentioned, it was Hayward in there, probably sat there for a good minute and a half, 2 minutes waiting for the rotation that just never came. And that made the round quite a 4 versus 5 for the longest time.
Well, obviously there isn't even going to be an Ash on the side as he's decided to bring the IQ.
Oof.
But that's going to be Joker, the first one to fall. Castle no longer there. We saw him a couple of rounds ago really try and clutch things out desperately at the end of one of those mostly lost rounds. But he won't be able to do that anymore. And that means Juicy can begin to open up the floor. He's got the protection here of Hayward, which isn't something that was there last time. When Juicy got taken out by the C4, which could still happen, given that the mute is playing down below, there was really no one around to take advantage of those vertical holes.
Thought Jack was waiting around. I think he has got the C4 in hand, just waiting to see where the sledge strikes next. Didn't feel confident enough to go for it a second ago. He has stepped out now to start focusing on service, so won't really have the opportunity now to get that. That moment has passed. We'll have to wait for him to return, as he has done now. So Juicy zipping around these 3 rooms here, just trying to say, we need this open, we need this open, we need this open. And it's all down to me, the hero of the moment.
There you go. You actually see the mute rotating now. So if he does get this on the position, because Juicy's just stood still as he, I assume, looks on his drone. Yeah, you can actually see it downstairs there. It's going to be Hayward who's starting to try and use these holes to apply pressure down below, but still so far nothing.
You do have one C4 left for Mangoes here to make use of. Currently, he's playing at the bottom of white as he has done previously. So it's almost like the ground they held upstairs before has been sacrificed. They now want to hold on to restaurant and white stairs for the most part. Bit of a war going on, though, through the wall into bakery. It's going to be Cutie here in a spot trying to fight back, but Strider strikes big as Dino comes up with another one himself. It's 4 versus 2. Make it a 4 versus 1 as Plant is going down. I was going to say another late round upset again while someone's planting. Please be still my beating heart. But Knights are still the ones to come out on top again. That's 2 rounds back to back. And dare I say, Gio, every single one of us might walk away wrong today about our prediction if they keep this up.
That is indeed a daunting prospect.
I'm just happy to see Hap's flawless record shattered. I could not stand the ego on that guy because, you know, he says a lot of words. He likes to brag.
He does.
He's a quiet person, really.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm a Prisma champion. Yeah, just because you weren't a champion in CL, which you tried to qualify for and didn't get into, like you got to.
Wow.
He's got to be a champion of something,
Gio.
I suppose.
Who told you where his jugular was?
We were talking yesterday on the broadcast about whose jugular was going to be attacked next. I guess it's Hap. That's what happens, Mr. 7 and 3.
What people don't know is that in the production studio, what they've got is like a spin the wheel, like a wheel of misfortune. In the morning, they throw a dart at it, and then we get the calls, the broadcast starts. Guys, today, Hap is the target. And we're like, okay, we'll do our best, and we're going to say it makes it easy for us.
When you're talking about the production studio, I thought you were going to say the production studio hear everything we say, and they probably just sit there day after day disappointed that we're still having a go at each other. Like, why did we bring all these people together? They hate one another.
Fluke chose 2 very choice French words yesterday that we understood about 3 hours later did not mean what he thought they meant. And we had a conversation in the back room earlier with a couple of the French staff working here, and they just laughed, and they were like, you really said that? He was like, yep.
You can go back and watch the pod.
Yeah.
If you speak French, I want to know what it was.
And it was on Twitter. And he said to I posted it up that it happened, and the only people that liked it were French people. And I was like, ah. That tells you how bad it was. It wasn't terrible. He didn't go out there and offend everybody or say anything daft. Just include an extra letter which completely changed the meaning of a word. The meaning of this round has changed, and maybe the meaning of life for Jack Daddy as he's now been shot down by Hayward from all out towards spawn. Normally, I'm used to seeing people spawn peek me, but this is gross.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting there. And actually, one of the things I was thinking is, you know, we're heading back to reading. Okami successfully defended this last time, but we said the same about Kitchen, and then Knights adapted and took it. Could this be the same situation here on reading? And so far, with a shot like that at the beginning, Knights are straight away putting things into their own hands.
It's another C4 off the table, so you're definitely not going to be complaining. This vertical hole they're looking at, and we mentioned before around turning bar into a minefield with all those C4s that can play downstairs. You have got Joker playing just below. I'm not sure if he's on the ground floor, mind you. Is he on second or ground floor? He is on second floor. Okie dokie, that makes sense. I was going to say, if he's downstairs around kitchen, I am very confused.
Maybe he wanted a snack. But
Boy's hungry.
turns out, yeah,
Hungry for kills.
I'm actually pretty hungry. But I guess it turns out that that's not the case. Now that's going to be one of those Vulcan shields being taken down.
I appreciate how he did this as well. Didn't bother burning out one of those impacts, which can be so valuable later on. Just thought, look, it is risky. I'll get close. We've droned it out. We know there's no one there. I'll just blow it out by shooting it. So nice bit of mindfulness from Josh.
He's got to be aware of Mangoes, though, if he does decide to start peeking on down the white corridor. But it looks like he's going to be utilizing the holes that have already been made there in the wall. Instead of rotating around, but Mangoes will continue to hold on to the white corridor as everyone else convenes over towards Cigar. But they've got to be aware of style. He's sneaking up on them, but is he going to be able to take a 1v4? Does he know what he's getting into? It doesn't look like he does. Taken down fairly decisively, and that leaves just 2 players remaining on the defensive side.
If he got away with that one for free, I'd be questioning where the hell the flank drone was. On the red stairs, 2 kills strike back from the side of Okami. The Strider goes, forget about this comeback. This is our story. Knights take another 4-2 at the split. This is looking impressive, Gio. And like I said, we might all be wrong, but my God, will there be celebrations in the Knights camp today?
This is the part where, in a normal event, we'd be like, oh, you know, they're rolling off the momentum of being in a LAN and they've got the crowds cheering. And I was about to say it and then remembered that, no, they're actually still just playing at home. But even so, you never know. It could still be partly like, this is a really big deal. This is a really big event. This is our major. We've put in so much prep, so much work, and we're feeling it. We're feeling ourselves.
I'm not sure on how the region normally plays out or how these 2 teams will play out when it comes to defensive records or attacking records, the win rates they see across most of these maps. But to have 4 attacking rounds on Cafe shows a great deal of proficiency on the Knights side. And the scariest part is, wildcards still wait for whichever team win this game. Neither of them have done particularly well against them historically. So it's like cool, we've beat this team and we've got through to the final against the strongest team in the region.
It's like when you think you've beaten the boss, but...
And then he transforms into like something 3 times bigger, 4 times stronger in the health bars that just never seem to end, and it's like, great. It is, but if they can do it here, they potentially could go on to do it against another team. I'm looking at the setup out of Knights, and it's a very similar one. Let's talk about Zaid first and what he said. We just got the Silver Charm from the 6 Major Pog.
The 6 Major Pog?
I love how that's now such like a normal, everyday conversational word as well.
I don't.
Pog. I've heard you say Pog before.
Yeah, no, I do.
Don't lie to me, Gio.
I've been guilty of that in the past.
Big Pog, bro. Congratulations on the Silver Charm. Keep watching for the rest.
I think the worst one that actually managed to sneak its way into my lexicon was Omega Lol.
Omega Lol, yeah. I've seen that used a lot as like a reaction in like non-Twitch chat conversations, but never really in person.
No, that was definitely one that I started saying for a while. But that's embarrassing.
Thank God
Let's not
you
talk
stopped.
about
That's
that.
all I'll say. Now, looking at the setup coming out of Knights, don't worry, we aren't on Clubhouse. It isn't an SSG roam because those 3 operators are in play. It's going to be that setup that we spoke about before. Castle barricades going down inside a cigar. I'd expect a shield to appear around by Juicy at some point soon. We've got the barbed wire down. We're going to have jammers down. There's pests all around as well. It's all about causing an information blackout for the side of Okami here to try and force mistakes once they start getting in the way inside the building.
You know how they have all the tweets that come up? I think Fluke's trying to get his way onto it, but he doesn't realize that the tweet pops up on my phone, so I already know. But whoever does the social media, get Fluke's tweet on.
No. In fact, yes, give it to Fluke, because Hap has tried so many times and hasn't yet got on.
Rub it in Hap's face.
It's got to be a running meme that he's not allowed on the broadcast.
Not even to cast.
No, that's it. He's been taken up the studio and escorted to safety as we speak.
Speaking of being escorted to safety, that's what Juicy's going to be doing for himself as he makes himself a nice little rotate down the hatch.
Escort yourself to safety.
Just escort yourself to safety using a shotgun, as you know
that's
that all
like
of those attackers...
That's the polite way of saying, please remove yourself from the building.
It's like, all right, bye.
Please escort yourself from the premises. He's still in there, of course.
It's like the tuxedo mask meme where he's like...
My work here is done. But you didn't do anything.
Exactly. Well, okay. Speaking of people doing things, though, Style is going to be doing that. Removing the Jaeger from the side of Knights. Starting to open things up a bit more for Okami.
Hey, it's 2 jammers.
Hey, imagine having more
Struck
than one
goals.
jammer in,
I know.
in Scar.
It's because you can block away drones coming in from
Please.
any direction, essentially. You can drop them coming in from the south, you can drop them coming in from Bar itself, and potentially looking in towards the north, too. It's that newer hatch that you're probably worried about drones dropping in through, and that's where you stick a couple of pests to catch them as they come leaping through. Bags.
Exactly that. Well, there's going to be the start of the X-Kairos there. Not going to be impeded in any way.
So they want to go for a bags plant, I think, but there is a camera sat here, so they need to get rid of that first and foremost. There we go, blown up by the breaching rounds. We speak about Ash quite a lot lately. She isn't this dedicated entry fragger anymore. You needed to be using those 3 flashbangs in the back pocket as well as the breaching rounds. Very useful for clearing out all of those ADSs and the magnets when they're present, which of course they are not in this game.
I like the pressure that's being applied here onto Dino by putting the last of the Hibana pellets onto that backstore wall. It forces him out of position, not necessarily so well put to be able to deal with the plant should it come out. And that's exactly what's going to start happening as Mangoes goes in for it. Few kills coming out for Okami, but the diffuser has been planted. Dino forced back into Freezer because of those X-Kairos pellets, and Mango's going to be adding on to the kill count.
Josh is trying to do what he can, but in a 1 versus X situation here, plant down, I don't really see how he swings his way back into this one. This could be the perfect round for Okami, almost as perfect as that execute was. C4 sings through, but finds no one. It will be a flawless round, and Okami go, boys, don't count us out just yet. And Gio, of course. Don't count us out of this game just yet. We still have things to do, and that's exactly how they... The way they closed it out towards the end there I thought was really good with the execute from the Capitao, smoking out the bar area so no one could push through there, burning out the player that was stuck inside a freezer, couldn't push through the flames to go and contest bags at close range. The only option they really had was to have someone pushed through white and then spray him down into bags once it had been opened up. That wasn't going to be an easy task because there were members of the attackers also holding that angle. So they had everything covered, and it goes to show it doesn't require a whole lot of control to make these sort of things happen. Skylight was enough in piano control to close that round out in decisive fashion.
Yeah, that was a really well-controlled round there from Okami. And actually, one of the really interesting things to me so far on this map is that when you compare it to Clubhouse, we saw so many plants, or at the very least attempted plants, from both sides on Clubhouse. This is the first time we've actually seen a plant here on Cafe. So straight away, very different style of play, or at least very different
Focus.
win condition, I suppose you could say. They've had to waste, I think, a lot more time. Or actually, no, that's the wrong way of putting it. They've had to fight through a lot more things before they can actually reach the objective in the first place so far on Cathay. Whereas in Clubhouse, on a lot of the rounds, bar a couple, it really looked like it didn't take long for them to actually make it to the site.
Real Siege Sports. What's a man got to do to get featured on the stream? Well, you've clearly found the answer at R6 Esports, hashtag 6Major. Throw us some questions. How about a riddle or two? I'll take anything at this point. Give me a question, and we'll see what we can do.
Someone tweet Des a riddle.
Not just me, you as well. You're involved in this. It's a shared effort. Whether you like it or not, it gets shown on stream, and we have to respond.
Do we? I don't believe that's my.
I'm pretty sure it's in there somewhere. If you check the small print, I'm pretty sure it says.
Small print says Derry sucks. That's the worst thing I could think of. Brilliant.
I love how that's as far as your offense goes. You're like the kind of guy who someone makes
not.
a joke against you and you just go, your mum, and it's like, great.
That's not true. I'm very limited on what offense I can give because a lot of my offense is not PG-13. So on broadcast, it gets very limited.
Well, Milos is just there wiggling a finger at you.
Yeah,
it wasn't really wiggling, it was like circling.
He doesn't approve of his kids.
It does feel like he's the dad when all four of us at the end of the show are stood here just chatting and laughing, and he's like, kids, we've got to end the show. Calm down, calm down.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Poor guy. I really do feel sorry for him. Starting to feel sorry as time goes by for Okami, I should say, after that last round going their way. Yep, it looked good, but let's not forget the previous 3 rounds all went the way of the Knights, who looked prolific on the attacking side. And Okami are the ones who have got to show they can do the same to make sure the second map of their choosing, let's not forget, goes their way. Otherwise, you'd probably call this the upset of the season.
I like this positioning here from Juicy. It just does mean that he's perfectly ready, just in case anyone does try to come in through Cocktail. Joker's deciding not going to do that, though. Instead, going to shoot out the white stairs window, applying pressure there instead, and not yet going to get caught out in some of those potential C4s.
I was about to say, why is he blowing this up? And then I was like, okay, actually, he did intend to do that. Fair enough. Normally, because when you're getting droned out, you expect someone to be following up. If they know you're there, they're like, right, there's a guy there pushing from white window, pushing from down white corridor at the same time. We can kill him. So pop it out to make sure you aren't going to get pursued by the player inside a white corridor. Jump over the balcony and get yourself downstairs safely. Who's outside? No one knows. It's a mystery.
'Tis but a mystery. A lot of these defenders are very statically positioned, just waiting to see if there's someone they can catch out, and Dino is so close to doing so, and he does get it. In fact, actually, it's Josh who is able to confirm that kill, but nonetheless, a crossfire. That's a great shot there from Josh, just catching out with the shotgun, make that another one there. And it looks like Okami are really getting shut down here with just Mangoes remaining. He doesn't last much longer. And we saw a flawless round for Okami last time. It's a flawless round for Knights this time as they try to push back.
Josh, 3K on the smoke, playing in the most anticipated spot in the game. And I was so concerned for a second because they were crouch walking into bar when there is a camera sat on the wall, watching through bar, and I was like, there's no defender on it. Is no one calling this out? Turns out it's more of a bait than anything else because the player downstairs, staring through the floorboards, in you push. It's as free a kill as you are ever going to find. Good defense coming out of the Knights, 5-3. That puts them at 2 rounds, Gio, and they take this series. Never thought at the start of the day I'd be seeing a world where the Knights beat Okami, given again how the results in playoffs and in the regular season went.
Hap said 7-5, right?
Yes, because then Fluke stepped in again being a poker connoisseur and was like, I raise you 8-6.
Well, that's how things are going right now. It certainly doesn't look like it's heading anywhere towards an 8-6. Okami do have what it takes, I do believe, and if they can claw their way back, then maybe we will be seeing something like that. But they're going to have to show a more decisive attack as we head down here into Kitchen. And this is actually a really interesting setup that we are going to see from Knights, who have opted to bring the captain, someone who you said you always enjoy seeing come out in professional play.
I do. Normally as part of the SSG roam, because it's part of this sort of rush setup that teams like to employ, you just drop a bunch of those down. Even on other maps, the reason why I like it is because as soon as you know that there is one on a map, you know there are several more waiting for you, and you need to get drones in. You've got to watch every single doorway that you run through. And especially in regions where rounds tend to go down to the wire in the final closing seconds, you don't have time to check every single doorway as you push through the map in an attempt to get a plant down or to try and go for a trade. We've already seen, actually, the other day, a round was ended by a Capcan trap. So it just goes to show the impact they can have if teams aren't prepared for them.
The question is, are Okami going to be prepared for it? Is this something that they are going to be expecting, or are they going to get caught out by it? Evidently, what we saw in the last round was they very much got caught out what it was Knights were bringing, but so far have not yet had the opportunity to attack onto this site. It was something that they were able to defend fairly well. This could be kind of close here, as those drones do get taken down, but it does mean that Juicy knows that there is a player on the rappel there. Gonna have to be aware. Was that a drone that he just narrowly missed? He's gonna go in for the jump out instead, and he does secure that kill there onto Joker. He can't get back inside. All right, there we go. Exactly. Getting stuck on the door there, and that means the Jack Daddy gets the last laugh.
If they'd prepped that, it would have been big, but I love how that played out there. Knew he was dancing around a window, killed 2 drones immediately, sprints to the north, impact nades the window, jumps out and finds a kill. Yes, he's traded out, but it's that oh-so-critical Capitao that has been taken down because his smokes, the asphyxiating bolts, now called fire bolts, I believe, are just so effective at clearing defenders away or going for these crucial executes. We already saw them use it earlier on to attack the top floor. Without that on side, it's not world-ending, but it definitely takes away a lot of strength to these executes.
Straight away, a lot of this utility just taken out effortlessly by the IQ as Jack Daddy, who holds one of those kills to his name, just moves on through the map. Again, some of this pressure can begin to be applied as the sledge takes control of train. Not going to be able to see anybody just yet. The question is, have Knights all moved around? It's at the point in the map where you, the point in the game where you would have expected them to do so, and that is what we're seeing. Everyone remaining is downstairs, but not necessarily directly onto the site. So it might be kind of hard for these attacking players to find anyone below them to apply pressure to.
Big push, well not a big push, Mortis Man goes by himself, trying to make something happen inside a bakery. Gets himself traded out, but the critical thing, and this is what kind of confuses me, is he had the diffuser. That is now down, on the ground, in bakery. So the whole team of Okami are going to have to rotate to try and fight back for it, take it, and get a plant, all inside 30 seconds. I hate to push on an individual here, but that's probably just costing the round.
Yeah, now Okami are really running low on manpower. They can just easily get those shots down through, as QT proves. Dino completely unaware of where he was positioned. That means that those crossfires that are available from Smallbake weren't really there, but straight away Jack Daddy gets taken down. Diffuser is still lying cold on the ground on its own. There's only so much that can be done here, and it's really, really not that much, as Knights secure themselves another round win.
That's really frustrating. I feel bad because I don't want to harp on the guy, but Mango's literally just threw the round away there in the space of 2 seconds. If he'd gone in and won both firefights, sure, you're a hero, but the chance of you running in, winning 2 firefights, and then proceeding to get the plant down is so limited, especially without anyone there to trade you. So with that diffuser cold on the ground, the rest of the team's plans are completely broken apart. They can't sit there holding the angles they were on anymore. You need to rotate to go and try and recover. And that might end up costing them the game here. Going into round 10, they are at match point. None of us came in today expecting to see the Pittsburgh Knights take a 2-0 in this series to face off against Wildcard in the grand final, but it's about to happen, Gio.
I mean, maybe. There still is a chance. We've seen reverse sweeps happen before, but judging how things have been going, it doesn't look all that likely.
No.
And yes, all of us will have to swallow our words and swallow our pride, given that we all predicted Okami to get this, but it's such a testament to evidently the work that has been going in from Pittsburgh Knights to prepare for this competition and for this event. And it really shows off just how close the skill is here in the ANZ region. One of the things that people spoke about when we were doing our research for this is Wildcard, they're obviously way ahead. Okami and Pittsburgh a little bit closer, but you know, there's still a decent distance between the two. You've got this top 2 teams, and that's kind of what it comes down to. But actually, that doesn't appear to be the case.
It doesn't.
10 seconds left.
I imagine here they want to tear this wall down. I was going to say, Juicy needs to get in towards Cigar. Like, why are you blocking me out, bro? Going to lock them both inside instead. And the mute jammers are going down, as we speak about quite a lot. Imagine you'll see a couple, if not 3, going down in here. And it's about this extended hold, but let's not forget what Okami did last time around. They were forced down to the final 20 seconds. They still managed to push through and close things out, even with the mute and Mozzie on side blocking away all of that information. Beautiful execute coming out of them, showing that you don't need a lot of control. Piano is enough, and as long as you have the Capitao up on the skylight, that is all that you need. So we'll see this time around how Knights respond, or if Okami can keep on extending this game, as you say, potentially forcing it into overtime.
I want to be able to see the support that could come out from Josh, as well as the use of the ACOG. And carrying the bulletproof camera alongside what Dino can provide. He still has his in pocket, so not yet placed it down, but it does mean there is all that extra potential information that they could have on Okami as they begin to head on in. It could also be incredibly useful given that they've brought the Capitao and they might use those smoke bolts to conceal a plant, for example. Being able to see through that will give the defenders a really big advantage. But yet to see how that plays out as that opening castle barricade does get blown to pieces, just like Juicy. Mango securing that first kill.
Good bit of focus being drawn towards those south windows just for Mangoes to slip up behind them and find himself a free frag. This should mean that Cigar is blown wide open for them. Needs to deal with that jammer still before they can really proceed in towards the bar, but they should know by now it is safe. They have piano control, they have Cigar control. This is the start of the attack they needed to piece together, like in the last round, to get control of bags and go from there. So the Capitao up on the skylight is the one thing we watch out for. We saw how much impact he had last round just by using a couple of bits of utility.
Well, looks like the Jaeger could be in position to maybe move on up, but instead he's going to be changing his mind and moving more towards the downstairs bar VIP corridor. Going up the white stairs will allow him to potentially get a flank that Okami aren't expecting. But even so, it means they still retain this level of control that they have over on the west side of the map. Now, we saw before Dino get forced back into the freezer from his position because of how Okami decided to place these X-Kairos. Right now, he's still positioned in backstore, but he could find his value be decreased if he finds himself in a similar situation.
I worry that this is setting up exactly the same way as the last round is my biggest concern. They're even trying to force them out of freezer in an alternative way here and just saying, nope, get back. There's a Habana coming through. Still 2 left to open up bags if they need it. In fact, he's gone through all 3. Naughty Dino. Jesus. See you later style. Get styled on, dare we say. Same setup coming in here. Smokes are in. Firebolts are in. Going for a plant inside of bags. Hayward here really needs to push now if he wants to make this happen. Going to start moving his way forwards, but not in the right nick of time. However, kills are flying through for the other side. They're watching the angle. Just like in the last round, nothing has changed. It's a 3 versus 1. Okami in a position to be able to close this round out. And Strider, unfortunately, buddy, I think you guys might have to wait a few more rounds to see if you can still close this one out. He'll try and do what he can. A flank up red clearly going to be the answer, but with about 15 seconds to go until we are past the point of no return for that diffuser, you can't even get inside the top of the stairs here. Cigars being held from the hatch by the Capitao. Death from above, dare they say, whether it's through fire, smoke, or bullets. Another good execute coming out of the side of Okami.
And that really is the only site that they've been able to get both times now on the attack. And they've been able to make the plant both times as well. Feeling very confident in their strategy that they've gone for there, but that does mean now that Pittsburgh Knights can opt to go somewhere else, which is exactly what they're doing. Back to Reading Room, which is where they came in round 8, and this was a flawless round for them, where we saw that amazing 3K from Josh, which was very ballsy and not something that you can really expect to see every time, but it did especially make it so hard for Okami to take control of the top floor. They were being quite aggressive and quite rushing, though. You know, we noted how they didn't necessarily take the time out to drone and figure out where all the defenders were. They kind of just went for it. And if they play a little bit more cautiously and carefully, it could be the time to see a different result.
It's not often that lightning strikes twice like that. Josh finding a 3K for a consecutive round would be, I'd say by pure chance. I don't want to say he's a bad player, because he's evidently not. At 10-4 playing on a hard anchor role. It's more just comes down to the opportunity, everything lining up the way that it did would be the struggle. There's a great question. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay? I'm pretty sure you're a nay person, but I'm a yay person.
Well, I don't have particularly strong opinions because I don't care whether someone eats pineapple on pizza or not, but I just don't like pineapple full stop. So I personally...
See, I don't either.
I personally wouldn't have it on pizza, but that isn't because I feel strongly about whether it belongs on pizza. It's because I feel strongly about whether it belongs.
Quick question then, have you ever tried it?
Have I ever tried
As in
pineapple?
try pineapple on pizza?
Yeah, no, disgusting.
Fair enough. I'll say if you haven't tried it on pizza, I don't like it by itself. I don't like pineapple juice.
Like, it doesn't strike me as something that is a huge abomination to humanity like people pretend it is or act like it is.
Look,
I
the
just
internet
don't.
loves over-glamorizing disagreements like
Oh yeah, sensationalizing. So, like, I'm trying to think of another equivalent that I might have strong opinions on. But as the pineapple on pizza debate, I don't really feel that.
The active debate amongst the talent team the last few days has been what films we have or haven't watched, and that is another example.
There are many films I haven't seen.
When someone turns around and goes, I don't really watch films, it still turns into a massive raging debate. Hayward picking up JKR, that's the Capital gun. We touched on this previously, and the damage that can do is untold. For this site, maybe a little bit less so, but the executes coming in is the big deal. Oh, beans on toast. That's a debate for the ages.
Luke just walked up to us with a notebook that just said beans on it. And I was like, that's not a film. I haven't seen that film. Beans on toast is disgusting.
Nah, I'm a fan.
No.
Look, this can be saved for a more appropriate time, I think, given the gravity that kind of currently exists on the back of Knights, but we will debate beans on toast another time. I'm more than happy to do so.
I'm down.
Cool. 6-4 at the minute then. It's, again, the round for Knights here to take the series 2-0. Okami were the hot favourites coming into this, given how every single instance these guys have come against each other before, they were the ones walking away as the favourites. They are down 0-2. It's unbelievable. One in the back corner right here, going to blow things out. Josh is isolated by himself. Can't quite pick him off, mind you. He's in fact managed to skip his way across to the right and get another smoke out. So he's going to stay alive, albeit only momentarily. If he pulls off a 3K from here, I'd be very impressed given his HP bar, Gio.
Definitely, and
There we go.
Straight away, not going to be able to do that as Mango secures the kill onto him. And this will give Okami a lot of space that they didn't have last time. That's why we have these players down below. Oh, I was going to say Dino is one of them, and he could be holding on to a C4 if that's what he brought, but straight away going down, and that means the site is empty. Hayward's going to be there too, but Strider isn't. And this looks like it's going all in the direction of Okami.
The reverse angles, it's constantly this vertical fight. This could turn out to be the third in the round if this kill goes the way of Juicy, but the sledge is rotated far away. They have got a lot of time to play with here. 45 seconds and they're in a 4 versus 2. I'd definitely say getting inside of pillars and looking to go for a push that way would be the play.
Got to see if that's what they're going to decide to do. As you say, just over 30 seconds remaining and the defenders are in dire straits. When you're on match point, you don't want to be losing it like this because it just gets too close for comfort. But that's going to be a shot there onto Hayward and it leaves just Juicy alone on his own.
I don't know where he is though. C4 comes up towards the doorway. Will he find one for himself? He does try, but sadly there is one on high to finish him off. Okami take this round, and again, we're coming down to it. Round number 12 to determine which way this goes. It ended 7-5 on the last map, to Knights. Can Okami snatch it away on their own map pick and force us through to map number 3?
Well, this is the real big thing now, is they kind of have to go down to Kitchen if they want to be going somewhere that they feel confident on, because they did win it in round 9. But if Okami prove once again that they can adapt on a round that they failed to attack successfully before, that puts Pittsburgh Knights into a situation where now all of the sites they've been to have been won by the attackers and they no longer have that advantage in the superior strategical planning. So they really have to rely on getting this map, or getting this round, if they are to hope to guarantee themselves this map.
But you know what they've got to do, right? Remember what happened in the last time we were here?
They got to shoot.
No, not even that. Remember Mangoes?
I do remember Mangoes.
Intink?
Yeah, I remember
Just run into bakery. I want these baked goods, please, and then just finds himself dead with the diffuser
That was
on the
me this
ground.
morning when I went to get breakfast.
You know what he wanted to do? He wanted to fill that briefcase, the diffuser, whatever you want to call it, with a bunch of goods and take them back for the boys.
Oh.
But that was the crucial thing. It was a mistake caused by Okami that led to them losing that round. I wouldn't say any of it really came down to what Knights did in any strong fashion. I'm not saying they're not playing this site well. I just think a lot of it was down to Okami in the previous round. So assuming they can say, right, this time round, no big errors like that, and it's basically then back to being a 50-50 as to who is going to take it.
Well, we'll see what Mangoes does do, because there have been a couple of moments where he's been playing it pretty well. But as you just correctly pointed out to me there's an Oryx on the board, something we haven't seen so far, and that could give Knights the opportunity to get those late round flanks, which they'll maybe need.
Chat, one for you from Natabrate, the god himself. Almost everyone needs it. I missed the rest of it because it went off screen. My bad.
Sorry. Production.
Thank you, production. Almost everyone needs it, asks for it, gives it, but almost nobody takes it. What is it? Answer
Responsibility.
Answer in our 6 Esports chat, #6Major. Get some responses on Twitter and we'll check those out later on. Don't go Googling it and cheating it for yourself, by the way.
Responsibility.
Do you ask for it, gives it, take it? Maybe. That's a mind boggler for later on.
Current mind boggler is how Knights are going to go about successfully defending this site. As we said, this really is kind of the last opportunity for a guaranteed win for them, because if they don't do it, then we head into overtime, and at that point there is that huge risk of going on to the 3rd map. So much of this upstairs presence, actually.
We saw this being employed by Okami on their defense with the castle holding upstairs, normally supported by Mangoes on the bandit out towards White Stairs. It's a little bit similar, but less invested, I'd say, in holding down Train. Got to be careful, and you can see Wise lying down as well. This angle being held across here by Mangoes. Given he plays in this angle himself when he's defending, I'm not surprised that he's aware of the kind of things that teams can pull off. However, they have now rotated back away. Kind of confused as to why he's ignored the bulletproof that was on the wall. You can just punch it.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing. I mean, obviously the placement of it is exactly why Knights knew to jump down when they did, but I don't know, whatever floats your boat.
I hope Duty gets rid of it then. There you go, now it's gone. Okay, good. The problem now is you've probably just seen that there are 2 pushing up. However, it did feed them a bit of information, and even with a shotgun in hand, nothing really to come from it. Cutie finding that opening kill. The Oryx has been removed. The one that you look at and say, how much trouble can he cause by jumping through the hatches? The answer apparently is not a lot.
The hope to have those late round flanks is now gone. We see this a lot with Oryx. Teams often decide to bring him because of that, but then find that he gets taken down a bit too early, sometimes because the positioning isn't quite right, which we could say the same for Style there, as he gets taken down by Strider. That brings a little bit of redemption there for Knights. Mango's going down as well.
Oh, no.
That means the diffuser will now be
white.
nowhere to be seen. Hey, I said nowhere to be seen. You can't say bottom of white.
I'm going to tell you.
The point is, it's not going to be where the rest of the attackers are, and so that's another thing that they have to deal with if they hope to make this attack work.
Misdroning on White is going to cost them so heavily there as well. They do find Strider because he was the one holding at the end of bar, and in this case, him being removed opens up the restaurant area, but it's the same thing as last time, Gio. They've got to get down White, recover the diffuser, get inside the site, and make the plant happen. That's a lot to do inside 10 seconds. They've got it in their hands, but rotating upstairs here, they're going for a drop-in through Fireplace. This could be cataclysmic if Dino is holding, but he loses the fight. How does he lose that one? There's still one more holding. 1 second, he's got to go for the plant. The spray comes in, but it's not in the right amount of time. How on earth have Okami nicked that one from the jaws of defeat? What a round from them.
Okami had no business taking that round, and now the Pittsburgh Knights have this very real problem that they have to face where all of their defenses have been pulled apart, including one which really was in their favor at the end there. Match point, it was right there, and I suppose, well, it's gone now. They were so close to having such a clean 2-0 victory in this series, and now they're going to have to fight for it again in overtime.
They're not Irish, but that is the look of the Irish. 3 fights in a row that they really shouldn't have won or even whiffed the occasional shot on. They hit every single one, and when it looked like Maestro was in a spot to be able to shut them down, when it looked like Castle was in a spot to be able to beat the one dropping through Fireplace, they land the critical shots at the exact right moment, and it all comes together for Okami. Great round, great execute. I think if you'd rewound that about 10 seconds or so and replayed it, you'd be sat in a spot saying, there's no way here. There's about 10 seconds left. They're having to run up White Stairs to go for the drop because there are no options left. Okay, cool, they've done this. There's 1 second left to kill Maestro and get the plant in. It looked impossible, but they made it happen, and they have earned themselves this overtime. They kick things off on defense up on the second floor here in Reading.
Now, something that's worth bearing in mind, actually, is when you look at the round wins, they're the exact opposite of each other on both sides. On both halves so far, the attackers have won the first, 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds, and the defenders have won 2nd and 3rd, which means that even though the sides have switched now, the Devmata High upset in progress. Yeah, potentially
it looked like it was about to be, and then that was the upset in the last round, though.
Also, hi, Dev, I miss you.
It broke the story.
But what this means is that both of these teams are in situations where they've come to their sites, won them, and then the attackers have been able to take advantage. after that. What that means is that even though Okami originally won their reading defense, Knights actually came and took it in the last round. Juicy's not going to be taking anything there.
He's all juiced out. The carton is empty. He's got nothing left in the tank. Style brings him down a little bit too comfortably, I'd say, at the very start of this round. That's 30 seconds in as well. I mean, that's kind of the Jaeger's job. You are the expendable one once all those ADSs are down. You get out in the map, you use the carbine, you go gunning people down. It's as simple as that. To kill the sledge here is the big deal, because although there are a few breaching charges for the IQ here to make use of, I'd say they're still somewhat limited in terms of vertical destruction. So that's going to hurt them when it comes to trying to open up these angles that in the last round worked so well for them, if you recall. 2 or 3 kills being found through those reverse vertical angles was massive for them. That isn't going to be an option here without the sledge in my mind.
Yeah, it is going to be significantly harder to do it because you want to be having that kind of control. And you mentioned the breach charge of the IQ. They've been expended.
He
just
knew.
like Josh has been expended on the side of Knights. So far, Okami looking very strong here. Hayward does get a shot in for himself onto Stahl. That eradicates that Jaeger from the fray. But you still have everybody else to worry about.
He just knew, because Josh did this last round, remember, where he crept towards that shield and shot it, rather than using his gadgets or his utility, in this case both the same thing, to get rid of it. So, well played, well timed. Stahl does go down, but with 2 kills coming through here, onto the Zofia as well, who also can contribute to that vertical destruction. That is huge for them. They do still have time to play with, mind you, and I'm looking towards Dino on the Capitale to make something happen.
Well, there's going to be that, you could say, opening pick there for Strider as they head into the next phase of their attack, combined with the bolts coming in for the Capitale. But Dino has taken a lot of damage, and there's only so much he's going to be able to do before he can get taken advantage of by Okami in return. Just looking for these angles here is Strider, and he doesn't want to play too dangerously as he's holding onto the diffuser, and we've seen what happens when that gets lost in unfavorable positions. Looking to see if anyone could be rotating up brown stairs, but actually it's red stairs that they're going to have to be aware of, as that's where Mangoes is situated.
Joker's just poised with a shotgun here. May have a C4 on side as well if he wants to throw it up there like a bouncing bomb through the floor to try and catch someone out. In comes the first fireball. It's a C4 onto the wall of all things to make sure they have the rotation options to go back and push towards pillars. So I like how it's going to enable him to dance back and forth here a little bit, but it's Dino doing the dancing. In fact, the whole Knights are in now. It's more of a group dance as they bring down 2 members on the side of Okami. 3 versus 1, and the plant is going down. There should be nothing they can do to stop this one. Going in for the fight. Plant is down. They're outside the building. This is basically unwinnable for Okami here, and Knights indeed will take the round. One more, and the 2-0 upset is back on the agenda. But if Okami can win it, who knows how that final round goes.
Yeah, they lost their match point, and now they've managed to regain it. They've just got to keep it up, as once again, the sides will switch. Knights, who had a pretty decent kick-off on the defense and started to let it slip a little bit at the end, have now got to face once again what it was that Okami brought in those last few rounds that made it so difficult for them to be able to hold on. Now, as we said, Okami really had no business winning that last round on Kitchen, and it's unsurprising that Knights have decided that they want to return to Kitchen, as it really was the site that they had the best chance of success on.
Kitchen has been interesting.
Yeah.
Mainly because of all the craziness that we have seen with, you know, I always hate to say it because it happened twice, so I can say it. It's Mangoes. Dying with the diffuser in hand, relatively external to the building. First time was just inside the bakery double door. The next time was just inside the white single door. So I'm hoping that, at least in the inverse here, he's not going to find himself going down too early, because if it strikes 3 times, man, that will be something they're looking at in the coming weeks, no doubt, to try and address these things that go wrong for them.
It's a weird one because I don't want to harp too much on Mangoes, because it's not like he's consistently been playing poorly or anything like that. He's had a number of opening kills. He's done pretty well on a number of the sites. It just seems to be this one that he's struggling with the positioning at the right time.
And the thing is, it's not even just an individual player decision. It's part of the strategy they've all agreed to go for, but it's more that question of what happens if our diffuser player dies here? What have we got drones to protect him to make sure his way in is clear? The answer then was clearly no, as no one had any eyes on white stairs, or if they did, it's still a massive risk having your single player by himself trying to take a gunfight like that.
Very true. So, overtime match point. This is Knights' opportunity to be able to secure themselves the 2-0 that none of us expected to come out. This could be the biggest upset that we see at the moment in the ANZ region. All of those fans in Australia and New Zealand And Polynesia.
I thought you were saying Strider then, rather than Stryer.
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 And Polynesia are going to be sitting there watching this intently to see what it is that's going to happen. Okami know that this is their last opportunity to be able to drag in that third map, which would of course be Villa. So far, everyone's still standing, but not even reached past the first minute. Dino's getting ready to rotate down should he need to. That was a decision that was made very early by Knights last time, as soon as they saw Mangoes come in through the window into mining.
Contesting the same angle once again. Again, he was the player who was here previously and just walks around. He knows exactly where he's going to be. Easiest pre-fire of his life. Puts things at 4 versus 4. The Star was taken down at the same time, unfortunately.
So not quite the same early success that we saw from Knights before, where they made pretty good timing, but we're seeing everybody else start to move down. Strider and Juicy around VIP, around the brown stairs. They just want to be sure that when Okami start to move down, they can either catch them on the rotation or they can collapse into them on the site.
It's just constant front lines that you're pulling back to, right? Angles where you know you feel particularly strong, where you can test them as they're coming down the stairs, things like that. Juicy, later in this round, could have a massive potential frag coming, or flank coming out of him, sorry, if he chooses to push upstairs at the right time. Imagine there's a flank drone set at the top watching it. There should be in this case, because small things like that is where it can really cost you rounds if you're not careful.
If Joker decides to jump in towards Small Bake here, he could find himself getting caught out because of the positioning of, well, I was going to say Josh especially. Hayward has moved back towards into prep, but it's actually going to be Jack Daddy who does get taken out. That's going to make things a little bit weaker here for Okami.
They're in together.
Joker's in a risky position. It's going to be Cutie going down and Juicy getting traded out at the same time.
This is 3 versus 2 that makes it so uncomfortable for them now, I think, knowing again that this is your last chance to keep yourself in it. They did the right thing. They sent 2 of them in towards Bakery to make sure Mangoes was protected with the diffuser, but they've got so much to do here inside 20 seconds, knowing there are 3 left alive, knowing you've got to deal potentially with the C4 coming out of Hayward. If you try and go for that default plant as well, this could come back to bite them massively. 10 seconds to go. Strider in coach check. They don't even know here. JKR doesn't seem to. He's pushing a red. We'll find a free kill on towards Josh in this case, I imagine. No. Pulls away at the wrong time. The down comes through, but there's a down to JKR. Plants him, but there we go. The closing kill comes through. Knights pull off the upset of the region, bringing down Okami and earning themselves a spot in the finals against Wildcard.
I have to say, I don't think I've ever been so happy to be wrong, purely because this is such a big deal for this region. Such a major stage for them. They know they're going to be going up against Wildcard, a team who have proved themselves on the international stage. And when you are the underdog in this matchup and you come away with a 2-0, nothing must feel better.
Massive game coming out of them, and we touched on these boys and the history behind Wildcard previously. 1 round away from beating Na'Vi and Tokonami and potentially going on to be the world champions, and now the Knights get their shot at them. This is an incredible story for them. If they go on to beat Wildcard, I need to start watching Six Masters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, Dev's got to be like, you should be doing that anyway.
True.
What do you mean,
I'm
Max?
sorry to disappoint you.
You telling me you weren't watching it?
I like to sleep.
He's just trying.
What do you mean?
We're
It's
trying to
11 in
fill
the
his boots.
morning.
I like
for
to
us.
sleep. No,
No, you wake up at 7:30 every
that's
morning.
true. I'm trying to.
I know that. We wake up way earlier now. It's around 5:30, but there you go. You know who woke up today, by the way? The Pittsburgh Knights.
They did.
Again, an NA team
Yeah.
takes on another
Oh, wait.
region.
Pittsburgh. Is it Des? Pittsburgh. They've gone another game. Pittsburgh. They impressed everybody.
Yep.
I think it's fair to say. Obviously, having Hayward show up big in both games, we obviously pointed towards Josh and what the addition of him could bring to the roster. You know, it was just really, really well threaded together. I think they had the aggression. Couple of moments in there you might want to try and tweak and fix and get a little bit tighter before you go up against Wildcard.
Yeah, that kitchen defense. I mean, I can't believe that it actually happened. All of us were kind of screaming in the caster. We could see them up on their desk. Just cannot believe that in 3 seconds that entire assault happened. The rotating up wide stairs, dropping the hatch, and still the defense lost the gunfights. The Knights couldn't hold it on and it went to OT.
It should not happen, but it gives a bit of a feeling of Cloud9, whatever they always do. You know, they drop in last 30 seconds, win the gunfights as well. It's basically having that vibe there. But there was some other, like, again, we're seeing a very attack-sided map. Now, last map we saw a Jaeger being banned. Now we saw Wamai being banned, which is like, they're really fan of not having much projectiles to have.
I mean, fair enough. That Wamai ban actually was very important because it helped the Knights on their attack. They brought so many grenades, Des couldn't stop talking about Pokeballs the entire time, and you could see that they're doubling down on that fact. That's how you use that ban phase to your advantage.
Yeah, you look at the control that they're able to kind of get above Skylight as well. There's so many places that you can get those buried in really deep. Having the Capitao to control space too, we saw ran a few times, and I think they utilized the verticality that this map can offer, which you see a lot of teams not. And the times they didn't was, well, it just completely swanned away from them. Again, the kitchen retake where it was they had 3 bodies in there and then they didn't. It was just unbelievable.
But it's something else that Wamai also does, because we saw them struggle, the Knights that is, on their top 4 hold. We saw that time and time again, they open up piano, they open up the sidewalk, get the reverse plant in on the likes of Okami. And then like, why? How? Why is there no presence inside the piano? And that is because the shield that normally gets played in Pixel is suddenly not that viable anymore, as you would have to expend an entirety of an ADS instead of just tossing up the Wamai discs as they recharge behind the couch. And because of that, piano unplayable.
Yeah.
Broken piano, you can say.
Yeah.
Missing all the keys. You've just got a couple of them, and they're really out of tune. It was... I like how they stayed on you for that.
I like how they see your disappointment.
Yeah, I like how they stayed on you just to get all of the intense disappointment that you have.
I'm very proud of you, though.
Towards me. Aw. I'm proud of the Pittsburgh Knights. I think all of us kind of underestimated them coming into this, obviously based on the predictions that we didn't predict you. Sorry, you proved us wrong. That's a really good thing, because, I mean, you gesture, so you go.
Yeah, you gesturing.
The casters were talking about this, and I really want to try to highlight this before our game happens, actually later on in the week. Wildcard is a very different animal. Pittsburgh Knights, what do they need to do? What sort of armor should they be shining and brandishing around to prepare for that last game?
I think it's important to first see what kind of an animal they are. If they're also a fox, then they do not have to worry about that much.
It's not Okami is wolf.
Wolf then. Sorry, I thought it was a fox. It looks like-ish.
Gio just pointed at herself.
Yeah,
Gio
white
is
wolf and the what was it?
Gio
The brown.
Is she hungry like the
What was Des? The badger?
the brown possum?
Possum. Brown possum. Hap is a sloth.
That is very... All right, let's move on from this conversation. Guys, just keep tweeting at us. At this point, it's just all a ton of fun. We have an interview with Strider, so let's have a quick chat with our friend from the Pittsburgh Knights after their victory. Hello, Strider. How are you doing?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me fine?
We can't hear you. Give it a sec.
Hold up.
Not
How
yet.
about now? Can you
There
hear
it
me now?
is. Oh, so beautiful. Finally, we can hear you.
All right, awesome.
All right, so again, congratulations on your victory. Tight 2 maps, but you pull off what a lot of people would call the quote-unquote upset and beat Okami to go on to play against Wildcard.
Yeah, I don't think they were expecting us to beat them at all. It feels really good, though.
You say it perfectly, I have to say. Guys, any questions you'd like to dig deeper into? Because there were so many tight rounds in this series where so many things could have changed.
How much did the Wamai and Jaeger ban change the game for you guys? I think that is the biggest one, because often we have like people complaining about the utility dump meta, and we're like, ban a Wamai or a Jaeger, and suddenly becomes a lot easier. Is that indeed the thought behind it as well?
Yeah, we're definitely target banning in that point. We know that clearing util can be quite difficult, so we just made it easier on ourselves. And I think it was something that we've definitely practiced, to just know what to do on defense when you don't have that kind of clutch to rely on. You have to find positions where you're not going to get exposed, like a Capitao bot or a grenade. You just have to cop it at the end of the day. But whatever you cop on defense, you have to be able to return that on attack. So that was our thinking going into that.
Okay.
Sorry, I love the framing there of like you look like you're in his pocket, like a little pocket Milos.
Pocket Milos.
That's just in the corner.
I love that he has that
There.
wonderful frame behind him. It's so cute. Is that knitting?
What?
The frame behind.
Oh,
This one up here.
Yeah. Is it knitting?
Oh, yeah, it is knitted.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, it is.
It powers him. If you win,
it's got-
will you all get you out to Pittsburgh? Is that the dream to see it?
Well, I feel like that's been part of the contract, right? Like, you don't join the Pittsburgh Knights in
Exactly.
Australia and not go to Pittsburgh. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Or guys, if you're listening, hey, they've shown up today. You gotta be getting them on planes. What is your prep like now going forward? Obviously, you've taken out one theoretical giant in front of you that has been a very big obstacle before. Now you have the big monster that you've got to try and slay. Is it a tough week of prep now? What's your mindset going into this?
Yeah, so today was definitely a big pilot day for a new style that we're really focusing on, and that's holding that advantage. In our past games against Okami, we've always been the people to get the first pick a lot of the time, but we haven't been able to hold on to that. And I think with Wildcard, it's really going to show up on how, or like whether what we've shown today we can actually bring up against a more difficult team that more heavily relies on clearing out spots and executing quite well. So I think we're going to have to just practice more of the same, keeping that advantage, knowing when it comes down to like a 4 versus 2 that we're not going to throw it away, that we can hold our positions really well.
Yeah, that was rough. That kitchen, that was rough, guys.
Oh, if you thought it was rough, you should have thought. I'm sitting on the Maestro cam watching it all unfold right in front of me.
Oh, that was a moment.
It
All of
always
us.
puts a shadow of doubt in your mind, you know, maybe this is the comeback.
Actually,
It would have been interesting being in their comms.
what did happen in that moment? Because it really looked that you guys knew what was about to go down. Like you kind of read into their play, but some people were out of position. You couldn't really tell with some of the other players that were not dropping what was going on.
Yeah, like as that clock just getting closer to 0, we just didn't have the intel to tell us that they weren't going to funnel straight through Freezer as the whole team. You know, Joker came through the side, and he really messed us up. Got those 2 frags that needed to win them the round. So, yeah, I don't really know what to do. Like in that scenario, we just needed to play passive and take that 2v1 on the player that's not planting instead of just rushing for that planter.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see how those quote-unquote issues, it happens, right? A lot of things happen when you have 3 seconds left in the round and there's so much going on. I can only imagine what the comms must have been like. Even with the most calm of teams, there's so much going on that, yeah, it's something you can only imagine there. But congratulations again. I don't know, English, sometimes I lose the ability to speak. Strider, thank you again for the interview. Congratulations again on your victory, a 2-0 upset against Okami. Anything you'd like to say to all the Knights fans out there for first time, I guess, on an international broadcast outside of the Oceania region?
Well, I'll see you guys on Saturday when we take down Wildcard.
I love
The
it.
spirit we
You'll
like
love
to hear.
to see it.
Gotta make sure though that it ages better than Santos' tweet.
Oh,
Love you, Santos.
I think. Oh, ouch.
This is that reaction.
Ouch.
You're cold,
You
man.
didn't have to do him like
You're
that,
stone
man.
cold.
I'm a friend with him. It's fine. It's
Well, not anymore.
maybe not anymore, but
Well, Strider, thank you so much. Again, congratulations. We'll see you later on the weekend for the grand final match against Wildcard. Congratulations again. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. I'll catch you on Saturday.
See ya. There it is. You have lost a friend, but we have gained a grand finalist.
Yes. Yes.
I have. Indeed. Maybe, possibly.
You okay?
I'll make sure to.
I think you gotta
send
send him a quick message. Yeah, I think the thing that impressed everybody here is Pittsburgh Knights at the end of the day. As we talked about at the beginning, this is a region where we're seeing it develop. We're growing. There was a big space left by Fnatic. They stepped up today. If they believe they're capable of stepping up, hey, at this point, they're steadily making believers out of me. And probably a lot of the people in the chat as well.
I have to agree with you. Like, I didn't think they would be able to take it, but after that first map, I was like, I'm starting to doubt it a little bit, but I'm gonna just edge it out to just do Okami. But well, they proved me wrong. No more 100%.
I'll make it easier for you. It proved all of us wrong.
Yeah.
We were all wrong. I know none of us now is going with that 100% ratio. So
You guys were already out on that. But time now too.
Well, now you are too, so join
I'm
the
joining
club.
the club.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our one game today of Oceania. We still have 2 more games to go, but we transition to another part of the APAC South region. We go to South Asia, and this is where we're going to start talking about our teams from the Indian subcontinent, from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and India. We have 4 teams coming up, but our next game after the break is Mercenaries versus Monka S. We'll see you then.
Oh, guys.